I did a live stream with Heavy Arabia right before the tour, and I had seen the flyer of where I was going, and it didn't dawn on me how big of an accomplishment it was until I did that like Instagram live with her where she's like, "You are the first international metal artist to ever come play here."
Greetings, Legion. Welcome to another episode of Into the Necrosphere, perhaps the most stacked installment of this podcast in 278 editions. Over the course of the next 3 hours, you're going to get to hear one of the best interviews with Matt McGachy from Cryptopsy that you'll find anywhere. A nearly 2-hour news rant where I'm joined by my brother from another mother, the Middle Eastern Merauder himself, a fellow horseman of the podcasting apocalypse, Shayan of the band Trivax and the host of Iblis Manifestations. And as you can imagine, absolutely nothing was held back for that one. And then on top of that, you get to enjoy no less than 2 premieres on the Sphere, starting with Cult Burial out of the UK, no strangers to Into the Necrosphere, featured on the Unsanctioned Filth segment of this podcast multiple times. Their new album is entitled Collapse of Pattern, Reverence of Dust. It releases on the 5th of September later this year, and for the very first time here, there, or anywhere, you get to hear their brand new single. This is a song called Collapse. Cult Burial with a song called Collapse, the first of two premieres on the Sphere on Into the Necrosphere this week. That, of course, taken from their forthcoming album, Collapse of Pattern, Reverence of Dust, due for release on the 5th of September, inexplicably being released independently, which to me just suggests that a couple of people at various record labels are sleeping on the job. It is awesome stuff, and I believe by this point, the pre-order link for that record should be available on their Bandcamp. So I'll post a link to their Bandcamp in the description box to the podcast. Head over there, buy yourself some music, show them love and support, and let them know that it was Into the Necrosphere who sent you. And then who knows? Perhaps we can drop a few more nuggets on the way to the release of the record as we get nearer that date. Remember as well, like I said, this is one of two premieres on the Sphere. The second one will be coming your way straight after my conversation with Matt McGachy. That is the mighty Spells of Torment featuring Matt Brizzo, no stranger to this podcast, a man who I honestly do not understand where he gets the time to work a full-time job, maintain a healthy romantic relationship, work on his many bands and all of his art, yet he continues to do so, and he continues to put out killer music. So exclusive Spells of Torment track coming your way later on in the show. A quick reminder as well, if you don't already know, I'm a member of the Horsemen of the Podcasting Apocalypse, an elite unit of content creators dedicated to crushing mediocrity wherever we find it. We kick off your week every Monday with a fresh installment of Horrorwolf 666, hosted by the great Brandon Legion. On a Tuesday, yours truly is on deck to cast hexes and slay posers. With Into the Necrosphere on a Wednesday, we have got the newly married Sensei Mike Hill giving us an episode of Everything Went Black. We also have my brother from another mother, Shayan from the band Trivax, giving us a fresh dose of Iblis Manifestations. Like I said, he joins me for the news rant this week, and I would love to say we listened to a lot of music, but for the most part, it was a lot of shit talk, a lot of answering your questions, and we did go down a bit of a rabbit hole where we watched a couple of crazy movie trailers. So this was honestly one of the most fun news rants I think I've ever recorded. I hope you guys feel the same. Make sure you stick around for that one, because it'll be coming up after the second premiere on the Sphere this week. But Wednesdays, like I said, Everything Went Black and Iblis Manifestations. Then on a Thursday, we have got Mike Hill returning for Necromaniacs. He is, of course, joined by his co-hosts, the legendary outlaw Mike Scandado and the Professor Jeff Kashid. This past week, they did a review of 28 Days Later, building up to the release of the movie 28 years later, I should say, which I watched this past weekend and is absolutely superb. Their episode, likewise, fantastic, must-listen stuff. Also on a Thursday and again on a Sunday, we've got the Sinister Minister, the Dark One himself, Carl Hikara, taking you on a curated journey through the weird, the arcane, the esoteric, and the occult with his podcast Soul Knocks. And that, my friends, wraps up the housekeeping for this week. Right now, sit back and enjoy as I welcome to Into the Necrosphere for the second time, but most definitely not the last time, the great Matt McGachy from Cryptopsy. Is it early enough for you to have a beer?
I have a beer and a whiskey.
Oh, what are you drinking?
The beer that I have is a gift that I received yesterday, the day before, from my good friend Tim from Two Ool Brewing in Denmark.
Uh-huh.
And the whiskey is whatever was in the drawer.
All right. Well, I have saved a Camden Hells
hell yeah.
To toast you on a sensational album.
Oh, I thank you. I was happy when I saw it was you interviewing me today, by the way.
Yeah, well, it's nice to see you again, man. Cheers. You guys kind of caught me off guard with the social media blackout that you did when you announced the new album, because I suddenly saw just randomly, and it's been about 2 years, or at that point, it'd been about a year and a half since we had done our interview. All of a sudden, I notice Vox and Hops has removed your tag from the previous post. I'm like, fucking hell, did I say something that offended him?
No. You know how many people wrote me about that? Anyway, the social media team over at Season had the idea of doing the blackout. Is it a good idea? I don't know. I think it worked for the band. I'm not sure all the members had to do it. but it also like coincides with a time where I'm approaching the 500th episode of the podcast. And after that, I'm going to put the podcast on a hiatus because I'm just way too busy with the band and I have to focus. So episode 500 is coming up in the next few weeks. I just dropped 498 today. So in the next 2 weeks, basically, will be the final episodes of Vox and Hops for now. I need some time to focus really on the band.
I was about to say, I just took a gander at some of the guests you've been getting on. Frost was your episode 498. You must have something pretty spectacular in the pipeline for episode 500.
I do. I have a really good, very amazing guest for episode 500. 499. I'm actually missing an episode, but I'll make it work. I'll figure it out. Either it'll be like an episode where I like explain why I'm taking a hiatus and then finish with a bang with episode 500, or I'll drag someone on the tour party to a bar with me and I'll record an episode and get it put out by next week. But you know how it is putting podcasts together.
Yeah. Not to take the sparkle off anything that you might want to share on Vox and Ops directly, but what was the catalyst that made you decide, look, I'm just not sure I can balance these priorities anymore?
It's been about a year that I've been feeling that I need the break. It's been about 2 years that I started doing seasons. I don't call them seasons, but you can look at them as seasons, where I do 3 months on, 1 month off. And then over the past year and a bit, I've been really looking forward to the breaks, which is, it tells a lot. The band's been touring a lot. I did over 150 shows for As Gomorrah Burns, and now here we are in this new album cycle already. And just 2 days ago in Denmark when I got these beers, is when I put the Frost episode together. And that whole day just doing the work, I was so annoyed with the work. So I need more hours in a day to get it all done. I'm extremely grateful with everything that the podcast has given me, the skills, the community, the beautiful beers. But it comes a point in time that I felt like I just wasn't giving it everything that it deserved, and the fans deserve a high quality product. And if I can't deliver that, then I'm not going to do it. So that's where I'm at right now.
Out of curiosity, you mentioned putting together the episode. How long approximately does it take you to pull together an episode as it stands right now? Because I think you're probably like me in the sense that you have a broad template. You can piece things together quite, at a reasonable speed. Certainly faster. I do it faster than I used to.
For sure. Yeah, you develop tricks and techniques and intro cheats and outro cheats and editing at 2 times the speed. But still, it's when the podcast was really rolling was when I was working, and I work in childcare or I worked a lot more in childcare. I don't work that much anymore, is also part of it. Nap time is when I would crush so much editing, and I don't have that anymore. So it has to be in real my lifetime, which I have young kids of my own and do a whole bunch of stuff with them, and the band is busy. It's just it will come back because it's an important thing, and I'm sure I'm going to miss it as soon as it's gone, but it's where I feel it's been a year. I remember being on the Death to All tour and telling people in the camp, the Cryptopsy camp, I think I'm going to stop the podcast. And I remember having a conversation with our merch guy, just explaining my sentiments. And I went on for another year out of habit, probably. And if the podcast does come back, I do want to step away from the whole press side of things. It would be more close to what it was at the origins, where I literally just sit down with my friends and talk about beer.
Yeah, and I think it sounds to me like you need that time to actually miss it to get the passion back, because it is one of those things where I've had the same conversation on on my podcast with the folks that listen. It takes a lot of time. It takes me in total, if I tally up interviews, what I do on my news rant and all that sort of stuff, it's a good 6 to 7 hours to do. And even though I would never charge anybody any, exactly.
Easy. From hey, do you want to be on the podcast, to the final post is easily 7 hours of work.
Yeah. And even though I'm not charging people money, and nor do you, we're not charging people money for this sort of thing. But I would never, ever be comfortable with putting out something that wasn't absolutely something that I would want to listen to. Like, that's always the benchmark.
Exactly. That's something that did recoup that, like, when I felt like shit last year about the podcast, something that I did change that made me fall in love with it a little bit more again throughout the past year was I started listening to podcasts again, because I listened to a lot of podcasts, and then I started a podcast, and then I didn't listen to podcasts for 5-6 years. And then my lifestyle changed, and I'm at home more with the kids, and they play in the park. So I started listening to podcasts again, and I realized that it can be fun. It can just be like, I've listened to a lot of like comedian, the Bad Friends podcast as an example, where there's like literally nothing happening, but it's still extremely entertaining. So that sort of entertained me again throughout the past year. But with the whole, like, I've done so many interviews for an Insatiable Violence, because the PR team at Season is incredible. Shout out to Wales, Sebastian. I just don't want to be that guy that interviews people anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's going to become like something different if it comes back, and it can come back in like a few years. The brand is going to remain. The brand is me. I'm going to keep doing reviews. I'm going to keep doing parties and shows. I'm going to keep doing beers. But as for like interviews and like being like a PR person's go-to person to promote their band's material is not something that interests me anymore.
Yeah, I again, this is something that I spoke about recently. I actually prefer, if I can, and obviously in a situation like this, it makes total sense to have you on the show. But if I can, I actually try and avoid catching, band members during an album press cycle, because I absolutely feel for guys in your position. I mean, how many interviews would you say you've done roughly for an Insatiable Violence so far? Because I mean, we're 6 weeks out from the album.
I don't know. I've done at least 30 to 40, I want to say. I've been doing like 2 a night after shows, sometimes before the shows too. And I've been on tour for a month. So,
yeah. And see, the thing for me is I would hate to be that guy that you get off a call with and you go, oh, fuck, that was just the same old questions that I got asked.
There's moments where I sit here and, like, we were joking about it today, because I've had a little lull, like, over the past few days where I didn't have interviews. And then Chris was like, oh, what are you going to say tonight? Oh, you had a dream? More groove, more melody, darkness. Flo's an Olympic athlete. Like the same like key points that I keep hitting in all the interviews.
Yeah. No, and the thing is, it's also it's tough to, as an interviewer, this, it's tough to stay completely away from them. But I mean, that's why my philosophy has always been everybody has something they're interested in talking about,
and then you
that
find that
particular time.
Drag that out of them. Yes, exactly.
I just like push them in that direction. Like, you can, I've had guys on here where you ask them the first question and then 25 minutes later they still going, fine, no problem.
I had that realization with the podcast when I interviewed Gabe Mangold from Enterprise Earth. I had a standard formula that I would hit everyone with. And typically that would get me a half an hour, but I was like 10 minutes in and I'd hit everything. And I was like, oh, fuck, what the hell am I going to talk to this guy about now for the next 20 minutes? And then I had seen on his Instagram that he builds tiny houses, or like revamped their tour van into this tiny house situation. And then I hit that and he was like all into tiny houses. And we went for 40 minutes. And I was like, this was like an eye-awakening. People want to talk about what they're interested in. They don't, like, we have to promote the album, but if you can nail something that is truly unique to the person you're speaking to, a passion, they're going to open up like a flower, and they're going to give you these answers that no one else has gotten out of them, and the artist is going to finish the conversation and be like, wow, that was different.
Mm-hmm. And that is the goal with every single one that I do, and it's not always possible. It's not always easy. But it's always the goal. Is I will never have a Patreon. I'll never monetize anything out of the podcast. The podcast is expressly for my enjoyment, do a podcast that I would have wanted to listen to before this podcast existed, but also to help promote bands whose music I like, and then be in a scenario where hopefully I'm offering something a little different. And at the end of the day, the currency you trade in is your reputation. So
Yeah.
I'd sooner be remembered as the dude people want to talk to again than
Exactly.
the
No,
guy
I
was
was
like,
stoked. I
oh,
was stoked when I
me.
saw it with you again. I just want
Oh,
to make
brilliant.
sure my phone is charging, but I got to close this window. I don't know what it's going to do to you.
Camera went off.
Yeah, hold on. My phone is precarious with its charging situation. Okay,
If you suddenly appear back with your shirt off, this conversation's going to take a different
all
turn.
your listeners are gone.
Yeah. So let us talk about Cryptopsy for a minute, because when we spoke last time round, I can't remember whether or not it had been confirmed. I'm not even sure. I don't think we spoke about it, but you guys what is that, pulled a fast one. You beat Metallica to the punch and played Riyadh 2 weeks before they did.
Yes, we did. That was cool. That was a gift from the podcast skills. That the fact that everyone knows that happened is because I am a media person, and when I saw Metallica was posting that they were going to be the first band to be there, I was like, oh, no, you're not. So I got a quote from the booker, the promoter, Gigi, Heavy Arabia, who's wonderful. Us, the band, we put a quote together. I got Gigi, Heavy Arabia, to have a photographer at the show to send me all the pictures. And then I sent this all to Metal Injection with a nice big bow on it and said, hey, Frank, we beat Metallica. We played Saudi Arabia first. They keep saying that they're the first ones, but it's not true. And then Frank picked it up. Metal Sucks picked it up. And then it went everywhere. But that was just one of those things. Like I did a live stream with Heavy Arabia right before the tour. And I had seen the flyer of where I was going. And it didn't dawn on me how big of an accomplishment it was until I did that like Instagram live with her, where she's like, you are the first international metal artist to ever come play here. It was really cool. It was a great experience. They took amazing care of us. The food was incredible. The accommodations were amazing. The show was interesting. It was in a smaller venue. It wasn't the biggest show. It was cool. There was like 100 some odd people there. Some people in like full religious dress in the pit. Females in full burqas taking selfies with us after the show. It was extremely, extremely interesting. They had given us like a big list of things that we couldn't do. I couldn't swear on stage. I couldn't incite a mosh pit, but they mosh nonetheless. I tend to swear on stage because it comes with the territory. I always say like, bang your fucking heads in Graves of the Fathers. But this time I said, bang your Saudi heads. Let me see your Saudi hands, like shit like that. It was quite funny. It was an extremely interesting experience, and there's a lot more metal happening now since we've gone and done it. And I'm happy that the metal media world supported us and put out that amazing tagline, Cryptopsy beats Metallica. That's something that I'll say forever. I think it's pretty cool.
Did you get a sour message from anybody from Metallica, like, how dare you?
Not as of yet. I'm pretty sure we're not even a blip on the radar, but that's okay.
Well, as you say, I mean, you guys are the ones that now hold that distinction. The company that I work for, we do a fair bit of business with Saudi. We had a couple of people that worked directly for the PIF come to us as interns, and I spent a day with them, kind of showing them around London and talking to them about various things. And they're an incredibly friendly, incredibly open people from my limited experience. And I was always curious, like when I was talking to them, I was thinking back, geez, I wonder what it was like when Cryptopsy played that show. Were you surprised that there's even Cryptopsy fans in Saudi Arabia?
I think yes. I think it was more of like a culture shock once I got there. we do this so much that we're just like sheep that get herded into different directions and get onto airplanes and get into buses. I wake up in a different city every day. There's always this fear that there's going to be no one in the crowd, but it's often packed. So it was shocking. It was very culturally shocking to be in Saudi Arabia. But over the past 5 years, it's definitely changed a lot. It's far more Americanized. There was Tim Hortons in Saudi Arabia, which is crazy because we're Canadian. And it was like the closest thing that it reminded us all about was Las Vegas.
Which is kind of what Dubai has become as well. You know, if you think about,
they need alcohol now because there's no alcohol in Saudi, and that is something that was missing for Cryptopsy.
Well, you know, business-wise, that is actually that is direct advice that the government has received. So they brought in, from my understanding, and I might be wrong on this, they brought in the same government people, or not government people, the same advisors that effectively advised the Singaporean government, Qatar, and Dubai, and they laid out a roadmap for them, but they did put the caveat in that, like, if you want to draw Westerners to come here and work and rely on them, you were going to have to allow them to drink. And
they were like, there's this guy that was like, I can get you a 6-pack of Heineken, $200 US. We were like, no.
Jesus.
we were like, no, it's okay. We'll wait. But then we landed in Turkey like really early the next morning, and then we were at the bar at like 10:30 a.m. eating breakfast but having beers just to get ourselves back on track.
Turkey is fucking awesome. Like the food is incredible.
Back to the little mart. We were like right in the Asian side, I believe that we were on. And it was like in the little market district with all the like chickpeas and the lentils and the figs and the dates like just displayed, and the fish market. It was amazing.
When I was there, I was having dinner at a restaurant one evening, and I said to them, "Listen, is there anywhere that you know of that's going to show the Test rugby match that's being played tomorrow morning between New Zealand and South Africa?" The guy says, "Yeah, you can come here and watch it." Like, are you guys going to be open for the game? Yeah, we'll be open for the game. They literally opened the restaurant just for me.
Wow.
I came there. They were like standing at the front like a waiter, bar guy, wow. And they opened the restaurant for me. I was mind blown.
Yeah, you got to order a lot of stuff then.
I did. Well, I think it did help that the first night that I ate at the restaurant, I enjoyed the food so much. We ended up going 3 nights in succession.
There you go. And you were a good tipper,
yeah, they were like, "Look, this is a dude who's he's got a good taste. He knows his stuff." What was the food like in Saudi? You mentioned you really enjoyed it.
Well, I'm a vegan, so everything's difficult for me. But I ate a lot of hummus. Which is my daily intake on this tour. It's not so bad on this one. But the guys enjoyed it. But they ordered so much food that we finished eating, and it looked like we hadn't eaten at all. It was bountiful.
Yeah.
And then we were like, where is this going? Like, we don't want to waste this. And then like the staff take it home and like give it to their family and stuff. But it was good. There was a bunch of meat and stuff. I don't know, but
they probably brought so much meat you were carnivorous just by like symbiosis, osmosis coming into you.
Advocate, but I practice vegan lifestyle, and I rarely cheat unless it's by accident.
How long have you been doing that for?
Since 2017, I've been vegan. I was vegetarian probably a few years before that. I can't remember that. But I grew up like just, I don't know, either my mom didn't know how to cook steak or I'm sorry, Mom, but I have these memories of like chewing steak and just keeping it in my cheek. I don't know. I don't miss meat. I miss cheese. Cheese is the shit. If I would ever like break vegan, it was for cheese, but I haven't done it yet. But I was like teasing with my wife during the Christmas holidays. I was like, what if we like just start eating cheese again? And she was like, really? As if she's been waiting for me to say this forever. And I was like, no, we're not going to do this. No, because vegan cheese sucks.
I've not had it. I'm
It's
South
nice.
African,
It's
and
nice.
I think in South Africa you would have a far easier time coming out gay to your family than you would have
Then
coming
being
out as a
okay.
vegetarian or a vegan. It's just such a entrenched part of the culture. No matter what your background, race, creed, religion, everyone eats meat, and they
Yeah.
eat it by metric volume. No, it's not just like by a little.
No, I don't miss fish. I don't miss shrimp. I don't miss any of the meat at all.
Mm.
Nothing. No.
And you felt physically better since you started doing it?
Well, I drink too much, so I always feel bad. But, no.
I
No,
was
no.
about to say though, like maybe it's just a camera angle, but you're looking pretty buff. Like, nice wide shoulders,
Oh no, we've
chest
been working out.
looks.
No, we've been working out. Yeah, but
Yeah.
no, I do feel better since. But it's been so long, I don't even remember. I don't like everyone. I hear this is funny. Everyone on the tour is always like, "We gotta eat protein. Where's the protein?" Is like literally what my whole bus is constantly saying, and I'm like, I'm okay. I'll eat some hummus.
Yeah. What kind of workouts do you guys do?
We try. I'm like into this calisthenics body weight thing, which I should be doing more of on tour. But I literally just try to like team up with Flo and go through his workout regimen whenever the timing like lines up because he's extremely regimented. He's trained as a physical trainer, so I started working out 20 years ago with him when I joined the band, and I've been like following his advice throughout the years, and he's in great shape for a dude that's about to be 51. So
Yeah,
we
he
just
looks
follow
the
him. We
best.
do resistant band body weight exercises, and that's it. There's dudes on this tour that are incredible, though. There's the session guitar player for Warbringer. His name is Luke, and he brings like these rings, and he like hangs them anywhere. And like today, it was like crazy. We're in like the suburbs of Germany, they were doing these ring workouts with like cannonballs because I don't know where there's this cannon. I don't know. There's some museum here with big rock cannonballs. They look like replicas. I hope they are. And they were like working out with the cannonballs and like doing the ring things there, like as he's like sitting in a chair with his legs straight with the ball in his lap. Some of these guys are really into it.
Mm. Do you step things up training wise before you guys go on tour?
I tried.
When
No,
you
no.
do
I try to
loads and
like.
loads of dates like you've done recently?
No, I upkeep at home. I try to like get back into shape at home. Touring is hard. Um, Europe is a little bit easier because I don't have to go to so many breweries. Because when I'm in the States, brewers know I'm coming and expect me to be there, and I hit them up because I want to get some products, some free beers for the bus, and
Yeah.
and
Go through that
tastings, and I connect with
ordeal of having to
people.
try their beers.
Yes, and it's a really really hard life I have, but the so when I go home, it's like I'm scraping myself back into shape.
Mm-hmm.
But Europe is pretty easy. Europe, all the food is pretty decently healthy. All the catering is really good. The States is like you get a buyout, and then I go to some vegan joint that's like not healthy, but it's vegan. It's like junk food, vegan stuff, and the beers. It's like a scratching myself back into shape in between each tour.
I would imagine though, like the physical toll it takes on you to do vocals at the level that you're doing them at when you're on stage and you're moving around, you're headbanging and stuff like that as well. I mean, I think a lot of people underestimate just how much that takes out of you physically.
Yeah, I'm tired at the end of the night. I'm feeling it now because we're like 4 weeks into the tour. We have less than 2 weeks left. We have 9 shows left, Chris. I keep saying the tour is almost finished. He's like, dude, there's 10 shows left. But it feels like it's almost over.
Yeah.
Because we've done a full month. So there's like times like that I'm just tired at the end of the night. And I'm like, with the time change, my wife finishes work in Montreal 7 p.m. and is like, I can't stay awake to talk to her. I'm too like maybe it's my age. I'm 42. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's the toll of playing so many shows. But vocally, it's been really easy. I've really fallen into a very comfortable vocal performance range where nothing is a struggle necessarily except for the open face surgery scream, which is not necessarily a struggle. It's just a mind fuck that I'm in a prison of my own mind, that it is difficult when I can do it. I can probably do it right now. I'm not going to. But on stage, it always messes with my mind. The headbanging is okay. My neck has been holding up, which is good. There's no pain. I've gone through that in the past where I had a nerve that was bothering me when I was on Death to All tour, and that I was suffering every show. But this tour has been easy so far.
Yeah. By the way, just on the topic of the scream, one of my happiest podcasting memories ever was I was talking to Matt Pike from High on Fire about the conversation ended up just me being wanting to get the skinny on my favorite songs that they'd ever did. My favorite High on Fire song ever is Ethereal. And he actually sung just naturally, just spontaneously started singing the chorus. I was like, I can't believe it. I've got Matt Pike to actually sing on the podcast.
Yeah, that's cool. That's like when I had Sebastian Bach. He was just singing the whole fucking time. It was amazing.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting you mentioned about your, that level of comfort that you have with your voice, because I listened to An Insatiable Violence for the first time a couple of days ago, and I've gone through it a couple of times since. One of the first notes I made as the album was 2-3 songs in was Matt sounds more confident and more comfortable than I think I've ever heard him on any Cryptopsy album. So I feel like that read is correct.
Yeah, for sure. And working with Chris is always so easy. He drags the best out of me. And we toured so much as Gamora Burns that I've just played with my voice a lot more. Because guitarists can sit there and work on stuff. There's no death metal vocalist that's sitting in their house just noodling with their voice. And if there are, I commend them, but I am not that type of person. So
you're not walking the halls going, Wah!
No. There's times at work and I chase kids screaming at them, but or screaming at my own kids, but that's not with the proper technique. I always feel those screams. But so much touring, so much sound checks where I just try things, and especially on this tour, I've been trying a lot of weird stuff with my voice, just pushing it, and it's responding really, really, really well. We switched to in-ears in 2023, and I think that's a really big an awakening, eureka moment of truly hearing and understanding what's coming out of my mouth. Chris pushed me to scream deeper on some of the tracks, some of the sections of Insatiable Violence. The false chord scream that I've been using since As Gamora is extremely natural for me. It's something that I can do all the time. I also went something that's amazing that I think a real eye opener for myself was my friend Enrico, who's the vocalist of Hideous Divinity, is an ear, nose, and throat doctor. And when I was on tour with Atheists in Europe last year, in Rome, he picked me up at the club and brought me to his clinic and put a camera down my nose into my throat to look at my vocal cords. And I performed Lascivious Undivine. And he was like, your technique is perfect. There's no damage. He's like, you snore a little bit sometimes. But I see there's no damage. And then I went on to, and I performed the song and then looked at my vocal cords while I was doing the song afterwards, because it was recorded. And I was on stage that night, I was imagining my vocal cords moving, and it's just become this really reassuring thing, which is something that my wife always had to put up with, that I would always be stressed about the voice, and then I would always text her or write her or call her and tell her, and I'd always say the voice worked. So it's something that I don't have to do anymore. It's I don't warm up. I don't do anything. And it works every night. Good technique after 20 plus years of screaming. Just fantastic. And then the new highs on the new record, there's these crazy super highs that I've been dragging out. And I've dragged them into the live setting as well, which I'm really happy about. come from this new project that I have, which will be announced shortly, but not just yet, that I can't talk about, with members from a lot of amazing bands, notably a band from Montreal that I've known for many years. That was a big band that is now defunct. The guitarist and I have been wanting to do a project for a long time, and I've been doing some pre-prod vocals for that project. Lots of weird high screams, and I drag that into the Cryptopsy record too. So it's a lot of confidence. It's a lot of, I still doubt myself all the time. I'm always nervous, but I'm doing a better job at being a death metal vocalist than I have.
This new project, is it still death metal? Is it, or is it something different?
There's a tint of death metal, but it's far more progressive. It's really more accessible. Clean vocals, scratchy, high noted vocals. It's going to be different for sure. Yeah.
I can't remember whether you mentioned this to me when we spoke last time, but did you get any formal vocal training, or is everything vocal wise for you as it's self-taught?
It's funny. It's because it's my aunt's birthday today. Shout out to Judy. Happy birthday. And she is the one, back when I was in high school, or just after high school, I was in bands, and she was like, you have a voice. We have to protect that voice. You got to take lessons. So I took lessons for 3 years with a very old woman who I hope is still alive, in Saint Eustache. I'm from Dumaltang, and the city next to is Saint Eustache. And I would take these Broadway lessons. She wanted me to be a Broadway star, was her plan for me. Or like her ultimate plan for me, which I probably should have listened to because I'd make more money, was she wanted me to sing for Cirque du Soleil. Was her plan for me. So and I was like the only guy in this whole girl troupe. So I would do all the duets with all these young girls and older women. We'd do these shows, and everyone was always so stressed at these shows. And I was like, who cares? It's just a fucking, and they were like, you have all these shows, but blah, blah, blah. They were all mad at me when I was like, who cares? Like, nothing matters. But, but yeah, no, I took some like Broadway training to learn the foundations of how to sing. It must have helped me over the years just to have the core foundation of how to control a voice.
Oh, 100%, because I mean, you're 40 plus now, as you say, and I mean, it is really, really striking. As from the second that you listen to the first track on An Insatiable Violence, I mean, your voice is genuinely just getting better and better, and it's not getting better as in you're acclimatizing to your age. It's getting more aggressive, more powerful, more impactful. My thinking around it originally was that maybe there was something to the response that you guys had for As Camorra Burns that also helped a bit with that confidence. Is it fair to say that?
Maybe we won the Juno, which is like the Canadian Grammy for like the metal rock hard album of the year. Maybe, but I really akin it to just playing more and like being extremely comfortable with my voice. And also another thing is we went into the studio shortly thereafter the Carnifex tour that we wrapped up in the fall, and it's like back to weight training. If you bench press X amount of weight when you're like super in shape, and then you come back to it like 6 months later, you're like, oh, I can bench this, and then you bench it and you're like, oh, I can't do that, it hurts. Same thing with screaming. It's a muscle, you got to keep it in shape. So I was definitely in shape after Carnifex. We all were. Flo was too. His drum playing was incredible on the record. Is incredible on the record because he was in shape. We were all fresh. We were eager and hungry and had a crazy deadline that we put for ourselves for the first time, releasing a record within 2 years. First time the band has done that since the 90s. I think it's interesting.
Yeah. I've always been interested in the science of singing as much as anything else, and the when I listen to singers, whether it's death metal or whether it's other styles of music, it's interesting for me unpacking where that voice is coming from, how they're doing it, hearing how much of their sort of emotion they're able to inject into it. Out of curiosity, as kind of somebody who, at least for a period of time had that training and I think potentially shares that curiosity at least, who stands out to you, whether metal or otherwise, as just singers who blow you away every time you hear them?
There's a plethora of them. There's so many fucking amazing vocalists right now. The one that always is my favorite to watch, is always the most fun to watch. The one that I idolize the most in death metal is Corpse Grinder. He is undeniably fantastic. His tone is incredible. His diction is incredible. It's just so comprehensible while being just so goddamn brutal. More like interesting, weird factor. Travis Ryan, obviously. Ben from Shadow of Intent has fantastic lows, just sewer pipe lows, which is just super fun to watch and to listen to on a record. That there's just too many great vocalists nowadays. Well, it's hard to like create your own style almost, because there's just so many great ones. Like Will Ramos came out and did the whole animal noises, or made them popular at least, and how every deathcore band is just competing with that. That's not something that we're interested in whatsoever. We just wanted to create something interesting, something memorable, interesting patterns. Once again, it comes back to Chris that like places all my lyrics to the music, because he understands that far better than I do, and I trust him completely. I'm his vocal puppet. It's a lot of fun.
You guys have had three extremely distinct vocalists, obviously, between Lord Worm, DeSalvo, and now you. I remember absolutely loving, and actually in the death metal band that I was in briefly, my vocal style was very much patterned after Mike DeSalvo. In particular, due to there are two songs off and then You'll Beg that I just think are some of the most aggressive extreme metal that I've ever heard. Voice of Unreason and My Prodigal Son. Just phenomenal. It was so cool to hear that he had been a guest on the new record. Were you like pre Cryptopsy? Were you a fan of the DeSalvo era? Because that was very contentious when it came out.
I was 000 a Cryptopsy fan when I joined. It's not that rock star movie Mark Wahlberg situation where I get handed the mic. I saw it as an opportunity to uplift the band that I was in. I saw it as an opportunity for myself to join a big band. I took the opportunity, but I definitely latched on to and understood more comprehensively the DeSalvo era far more easily than the Worm era. When I was learning the material, I was like, what the fuck is Lord Worm saying?
Yeah.
I called the band and I was like, he's not saying these things. And they're like, yeah, he is. And I'm like, no, he's not. And now, 20 years later, I'm like, oh, he is saying it.
Yeah.
Now I understand. But no, DeSalvo's era was amazing. Having him on the record was a joke. It was an Easter egg. This album is filled with Cryptopsy lore and Easter eggs. I've done a lot of interviews and no one has found the biggest Easter egg yet. It is there. It's on every track. And there's something on every track that was recorded back in the 90s that no one has figured out yet, which is wonderful. But the way that it works always is I show up into the studio with Chris with a bunch of lyrics. We sit there. And in the morning, we start early because we have kids and the kids wake up. And we go down to the studio. We sit there with lyrics. And Chris goes through and places my lyrics in a pattern. And then we hit the end of that song. And then he's like, wouldn't it be funny if we ripped off and then it passes with the same pattern and it's sort of almost exactly the same? So I wrote lyrics to it, made that happen. I tracked it. And then we were drinking beer later that night because I live at Chris's house when we track vocals. It's extremely immersive and we're constantly like, oh, that line. Oh, we need to fix that tomorrow morning. And we take notes. And it's like it's a beautiful thing. And we were like, wouldn't it be funny if we got Mike DeSalvo to rip himself off. So we wrote Mike right away, and Mike was like, "Fuck yes," and it happened within like a week. It was all done. It was amazing.
Yeah. Well, as I said, I mean, you know, and I my first discovery of Cryptopsy was Whisper Supremacy. And I remember listening to it, and it took me a while to even kind of place that, because that was 1998. So the stuff I was listening to at the time, I hadn't heard Blasphemy Made Flesh and None So Vile yet. I heard those, you know, shortly afterwards. But it was such chaos and such carnage. But he was so fucking pissed off. I mean, it's like he communicates literally one emotion and one emotion only, and that is rage. So.
It's funny because he's a really nice guy. It's great.
Yeah. You mentioned writing the lyrics, and I just must touch on this, because one, I love the title of the record, and Insatiable Violence is such a Cryptopsy title. But I sort of had a quick scan over the bio that was sent to me by Season of Mist, and you're talking about isolation, social media, things like that. Like, can you give me an idea of some of the ideas and the themes that you had for this record?
For sure. I had a dream. Chris is laughing.
Okay, take the cliff notes away. Like, the real story is Satan came to me in a vision.
No, I literally had a dream, and I don't have vivid dreams normally, but I really did this time, where a person is fixing a machine, and they fix it all day, and then at night they strap themselves into this machine, and the machine tortures them, and they love it, but they're not satisfied, so they like take notes so that the next day when they wake up, they can fix the machine again to make the pain more efficient and eloquent, and they just revere it. And the name of the album came to me in the dream. It was a little bit longer originally. It was originally called An Insatiable Lust for Violence, but Flo cut that down right before studio time, and I was like, yes, that makes more sense. So basically, we are the humans. We are the pre-pill. The humans race is the person fixing the machine, and the machine is social media, and it's our relationship with social media and how it is just degrading us as humans, tearing us apart. We all chisel out this facade that we present to the world as to who this is. This is who we are. We're this is me, but it's fake. It's an illusion, and then we all interact with other people's illusions, thinking that this is who the people are. This is amazing. We have a social media person on this tour. She's wonderful, but I've worked with her countless times in Montreal. We've had countless interactions. She's wonderful. Shout out to Miha. So happy you're on tour. But she realized early on the tour that I'm an introvert and I'm not actually who I am on social media. And she was always disappointed that I wasn't like hanging out and doing like, I'm done. I'm going to my bunk. I want to be alone. So it's you know, I dug through topics that pertain to how social media has broken down the human race. The first song is I wrote that first song's lyrics first, and I chased the feeling of satisfaction on all the rest of the songs that I wrote. The Nimbus Adoration is about mukbang. It's this thing in Korea where people eat too much food. It's like it's like a pile of food. And like these little skinny, they tend to be very like slim people that do this, and they eat like all the food, and it's like, oh, people are happy to watch them complete this.
Yeah.
So there's this girl, sadly, that she did this, but while she was eating, she died, and people watched her. So if you reread the lyrics of that with that in mind, you're gonna be like, oh fuck, yeah, no, I can get
Jesus, yeah.
Catfishing is another one. Until There's Nothing Left is about catfishing, people pretending to be people that they're not on the internet to either gain attention, finances, anything, just milking people of everything they have. There's songs about online dating, because I had a friend at work that was recently divorced, and he was doing a bunch of online dating. It wasn't going well, and he was always very sad. So I wrote a song about that, which is our great deception is about online dating. And then like the song that Mike has sung, Embrace the Nihility, is literally just about like FOMO and like if I'm sitting here right now and I'm with my friend who's in a band, and he tells me to my face right now that he just like got on a huge tour, let's say, I'd be like, dude, that's so sick. I'm so happy for you. My first reaction would be like pride and pride, and happiness that my friend is doing something. But when I see that same friend announce a tour on social media, my first reaction is envy, and I don't like that. And then the last track, Malicious Needs, is about my dream, the machine. Yeah.
Have you had that before, where an idea comes to you in a dream and you
Never before. I don't know how it happened. I don't remember. I don't remember when I drank the night before. Was I sober the night before? I don't remember. But it's it's done a good thing for me. So to make magic, magic in a bottle, you want to make it happen twice. But I'm not sure it's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm sure I read that. What's his name? Jimmy Page he woke up like in the middle of the night and wrote "Stairway to Heaven," or at least the biggest chunk
another
of it.
crazy thing about dreams, though, is that we were writing on tour on Death to All, and Chris would wake up in the middle of the night with riff dreams, and he would record them into his phone, which made it to the album.
Yeah,
it's insane the amount of dream energy that went into this album.
And it is an album where, like, you guys are not. I mean, it's completely recognizable as Cryptopsy, but it feels like it's creatively a little bit more relaxed. Like I As Gomorrah Burns, I loved, and it's one of my favorite albums of that year. But it is like all out violence from beginning to end. There is room for different ways to bring the message home on this new record, if you understand what I mean. Like
I do understand what you mean, and it's like if you look at the record as a vinyl, the first 4 tracks are balls out Cryptopsy.
Yeah.
Side B is very experimental. There's some weird shit that's happening on side B, but to the point where we were like, do we like this? And then as we kept like adding layers to it, like the bass, the vocals, it's like, oh, okay, no, it does make sense. This is interesting. But we had like sections, like we had full sections, like drums recorded, guitars recorded of one of the tracks. And Chris was like, I fucking hate this part, while I was tracking vocals. And I was like, just cut it right out, cut it. And he's like, can I do that? I was like, I don't know, I'll try, just cut it. And we cut it, and we're like, oh, this song's way better. So we're constantly just evaluating, trying to make things perfect, trying to make it as good as it needs to be. But we were definitely more liberated, let's say, under the Cryptopsy umbrella of what is permissible. We played around with lower tempos, we played around with darker elements, no black metal. Anytime we were writing riffs, and black metal riffs came into the equation, because there's so many bands that are being successful mixing death metal and black metal. We don't want to do that. We want it to be weird and dirty and dissonant and awkward. Neurosis. Cryptopsy is like, the new Cryptopsy is filled with neurosis moments.
Now that you mentioned it, I can definitely see that.
The Hangover riffs.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting that you said about being an introvert. Do you think you're an introvert, or are you a introverted extrovert? Because that's what I would regard myself as being.
Maybe.
I can one-on-one.
I like being alone. In situations like this, I can sit and I can talk.
Yeah.
Because I'm basically in control. But like in social situations, in normal world situations, I don't do well. I'm very, very good in band situations, because we all understand what the hell we're going through. Put me at a dinner party with people that don't understand I'm a touring musician. It's difficult.
You're a touring musician, a father, and a child educator.
Exactly. The Juno Award winner. Come on.
And I was about to say, and a Juno Award winner. No, I know what you mean. I am one-to-one. I'm great. I love I love engaging with people one-to-one. Like the conversation we're having right now is superb. But if I'm in a group environment, I just switch off. It's not even that
It's
I'm
just too
rude or
overwhelming.
anything. I'm
It's
just not in.
overwhelming. There's too much going on all at once. Maybe
I just don't have any. I don't
maybe
have
I
any
have a
interest
little
in the
bit of autism.
conversation.
Who knows? Yeah.
Maybe, maybe you're you're kind of calling as a child educator, because I know you treat that and take that extremely seriously. That has taken a backseat as a result of the ban.
Very, very, very much so in the past 2 years. I only
Yeah.
work 1 day a week when I'm home now. I basically just walk into the center and say, "Where do you need me today?" And I go do whatever the hell they want me to do. I can't complain. I still like it. It's still very fun. The families that do know who I am think it's cool that I'm there when I'm there. But I'm literally not there very much recently. So, yeah.
Is it something that you miss? I mean, I know we spoke about the podcast, but again, like just
No. This is better. This is much more fun, but
yeah.
it's nice. I like the summer at my work. We have like a beautiful forest in the back. It's really chill, which we're home all summer, so I'll be there every Friday. Um, it's chill. It's a very, very nice. I love working there. I've worked there for probably almost as long as I've been in Cryptopsy. They've always supported me. They've always granted me the leniency to take more time than I'm supposed to be taking because I am an artist. I appreciate them, and I love working there. As I've told them, the band is not going to continue forever. I will retire from that center where my kids will be older and I'll go back to full time, but not just yet.
Well, I mean, especially now, the band is on the ascent. I mean, I feel like, and you tell me your view on this, but I think that as Gomorrah burns was Cryptopsy shaking off the last vestige of whatever shadows hung over the band after the Unspoken King.
I
mean,
think you're right.
genuinely,
No,
like,
no, I do look at it like that, and it's like the self-titled was like a stomping out the ground that the band can be back on track. But John just left after that, and then Chris had to come in and really take over the writing elements of Cryptopsy, and it took him a few years to shake off the imposter syndrome and find his own voice that represented Cryptopsy. And As Gomorrah was like this huge stamp of like, this is who we are now. Look at what we can do. We put out music that honors the legacy of Cryptopsy while still remaining relevant. And that is like always like our primary thought in any decision that we make is Cryptopsy is a legacy band. We need to honor the legacy. So no matter what we do, the legacy is primordially in the front of our thoughts. That this is very important, that we cannot tarnish this again, because we have. It's not something we want to do again. So As Gomorrah was that. Look what we can do. We are still relevant. We can still do the old school shit. And then an Insatiable Violence is an even further step to that, where the legacy is so important, still relevant, but we've crafted a digestible Cryptopsy record, which is something that's crazy to me because it's very intense and extreme. But a first-time listener that's going to listen to an Insatiable Violence is going to be able to bite their teeth into something they're going to like, versus Whisper Supremacy, where it took a few listens to get through.
Yeah. How significant was, against the backdrop of all of this, how significant was Ollie resigning his duties from Cattle Decapitation to focus on Cryptopsy full time? Because again, as an outside observer, when I saw that, I immediately think, okay, which is the bigger of the two bands here? Arguably,
Cattle's the biggest band.
Slightly bigger.
Cattle's bigger.
And I commented on the news rant. I was like, he must be genuinely passionate about and extremely confident in the direction that the band is going to make that kind of step.
That is a part of it. He also he never moved to San Diego. He never left Montreal. He's always lived in Montreal. He was always traveling. He has a wonderful girlfriend that he lives with in Montreal that he reveres. It was a lot for him to there was never like originally when it happened, Cryptopsy was busy, but not as busy as we are now.
Mm.
Originally, also without the pandemic stepping in, there would have been album cycles where he could have flopped back and forth. But because of the pandemic, everything just lined up at the same time. So he had to make choices at time, like who he was going to tour with. It was difficult. It was difficult for us, constantly replacing him. It was difficult for Chris, constantly showing new people riffs and riffs and taking care of people, introducing new members to the vibe. But he made a decision that we did not have any influence over. We've been replacing him for 6 years, but he made a decision. His life is in Montreal. He wants to be in Montreal, and he wants to come back home. And I always told him, like, there's always a home for you here. We love you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Was it a surprise when he mentioned it to the band? Did you guys see it coming?
That's a politically loaded question. I don't want to touch.
when he woke up one morning and he had a Cryptopsy tattoo branded on his right
he's got a
cheek.
cattle tattoo on his goddamn neck.
You said you well, when you guys branded him with the Cryptopsy logo,
Yeah.
you said you branded now. There's no going anywhere after this.
You're ours. No,
blood
no.
in, blood
we
out.
are happy he's not here with us on this tour because we had already made decisions to move forward with a replacement. He will join us starting from every other tour after this, and we're excited to have him back.
Awesome. Final question. I read somewhere, and literally this was kind of in passing, I read something about you guys planning to do something around Blasphemy Made Flesh.
Yes, it's very cool. This is like 2 years in the making. We have been playing a Blasphemy Made Flesh medley for the past 5-10 years, maybe, where like we took the best, maybe over 10 years, like the best pieces or the parts that we enjoyed the most from all the songs, and like it's 7 songs that are like smashed together into a medley. We've played it live for years, so we recorded that, and then I had the idea of inviting a bunch of up and coming, very cool death metal, deathcore vocalists to come and do guest vocal spots. So the track starts off with Defenestration. I do that. And then right after that, we do Abigor, and Alex from Undeath handles the vocals on that. And then after that, I'm going to forget the order of this now. I think it's Johnny from Carcosa does the track. And then Bridget, sorry, Bridget. Bridget from Stabbing handles something. She crushes it. It's so good. And then Malika, who was in Unfathomable Ruination, Emasculator now, handles Open Face Surgery. She crushes the scream. And then we have this relationship. Oh, Ben from Shadow of Intent. Chris is giving me good notes. Ben from Shadow of Intent does Gravage, and he crushes that long, low scream. They're so good. And then we had played in Boise, Idaho, and Billy Strings was playing just a few minutes away, like 40 minutes away by car, in an arena in the same city, basically. And he sent over one of his people to bring us a cake and buy all our merch, and then wore our merch on stage. And we saw the videos the next day. We were like, oh my God, this is incredible. So we started communicating on Instagram. And I was like, what if we get Billy Strings to do the Open Face Surgery solo? Mm. And then he did. So this is coming out. So we called this medley Blasphemy Made Fresh. And Blasphemy Made Fresh is coming soon.
Awesome. Is there a timeline on when you guys are going to drop that?
It's going to come out in July, but I can't remember the exact date off the top of my head.
Killer. By the way, just as a side note, one guest spot you did that is, I'd say, probably my favorite guest spot ever, when you were on the Werewolves EP. The track I Hate Therefore I Am. Fucking hell.
Yeah, that was good.
It's that break where you come in is just so
it's great. I recorded that in my bedroom during the pandemic. That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah, no, kudos on that. But Matt McGachy, what an absolute pleasure catching up with you. And yeah, man, just I'm so happy to see not only where you the headspace that you're in, but also to see what's happened with the band. And as I said to you before, I was a fan of the Unspoken King, so I've never not been a Cryptopsy fan. It's just awesome to see the band being kind of back to complete and utter full strength, operating from the level that you guys are operating at.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you. I have one more interview coming up right after this, but I gotta go. But I appreciate you taking
No
all
worries.
this time to talk to me, and it's always a pleasure, Jackie. You're amazing.
Take care, brother.
Cheers. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye. You just listened to Dead Eyes Replete by Cryptopsy off their crushing new album, An Insatiable Violence. That features, of course, on vocals, my guest this week, Matt McGachy. Great to see him in absolutely fantastic spirits. Sad to hear that Vox and Hops is going to be going on hiatus for a period of time, but I'm sure he will be back stronger than ever when the mood strikes him. In the meantime, make sure you catch Cryptopsy as they are now out on the road and could potentially be coming to a town near you. Of course, if you like what you heard, make sure you head to the Cryptopsy Bandcamp, link in the description to the podcast, buy yourself some music, and let Matt and the gang know that it was old Jackson at Into the Necrosphere who sent you. My big thanks to Matt. Hopefully he'll be back on the podcast at some point soon, and I certainly hope that you all enjoyed that as much as I did recording it. My friends, the show is far from over because right now I want to play you for the very first time ever a brand new single by Spells Ov Torment. We have been repping Spells Ov Torment on this show ever since the release of their 2022 EP Unholy. The follow-up release is entitled Patriarch of Hell. And for the very first time ever, you get to hear a track off that album. This is Obliteration. Obliteration by Spells of Torment, taken from their forthcoming release, Patriarch of Hell, release date to be confirmed. Matt's keeping that one G14 classified, but I expect you will be able to get hold of it sooner rather than later. In the meantime, please avail yourself of whatever is available to you on the Spells of Torment Bandcamp. Also check out Matt's other bands, Sick and Conspiracy X, and no doubt Matt will be joining me perhaps for a news rant in the not too distant future. Speaking of news rants, Shayan is on standby to join me for a nearly 2 hours long weekly news rant. Some of you may be anticipating, as I think both Shayan and I did, that we're going to be talking a lot about some of the current happenings in his home country of Iran. The conversation touched on some of that, but I think we got so lost in basically just having a good time and laughing about a load of crazy nonsense that it ended up being a way for him, I think, to release some of the stress that no doubt has been weighing on his mind over the last couple of days. But great catching up with my friend. That's going to be coming up in just a second. But before I get to that, a word of warning. If you are weak, feeble, easily offended, and a regular commenter on the Is It Sketch subreddit, then pack up your box of tampons and hit the bricks, because this is my weekly news rant.
Round them up for judgment. And hang them where the world can see.
Greetings, young buck. I think you are hands down the most prolific guest on Into the Necrosphere, but I think this is your very first news rant that you've ever done.
I think so. Yeah, I can't wait, man. I'm in an interesting mood now as well, all things considered, and
I can tell. with good reason.
With good reason, and personal, internal stuff as well. I've had a pretty good day actually in the midst of everything. So. Yeah, let's fire away, man. When I shared the story, I said to people, I said, look, if you want to ask questions, don't hold back. I won't hold back either. So let's see what we got.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll get into the questions in a sec. We'll get into the music in a sec, but let's talk first and foremost about the Great Satan. We are now I'm trying to work out, but 3 weeks removed from the release.
I think it's 3 weeks today, because today's Friday, isn't it? Yeah, so 3 weeks today now.
3 weeks today since the release. I loved the amount of enthusiasm that I was seeing for the album at Fortress. I love the amount of enthusiasm I'm seeing it for it everywhere. But there's definitely a compounding increase in the number of people I see wearing Trivax t-shirts. There's a compounding increase in the number of people I see talking about the band online. How are you feeling about the release of the album at this point?
I feel fantastic. It's an album I'm extremely proud of, and it's just like, kind of feel like this burden just lifted from me, because I felt like, with Trivax, we had a lot to prove, and this album was kind of like a bit of a flagship carrier, because with Eloa, it's a great album, but I think we were still kind of like finding the spot because we never had something sounding good before that. Whereas I feel like when you've already got something out there that sounds good, trying to outdo that is a more challenging, but also much more rewarding process at the same time. You know what I mean? Because with Sin, I feel like the bar was so low, we could have just released any album and it would have been better. Whereas with the Great Satan is kind of like, fuck, we got to really nail this down. And I wanted to, I'll be totally honest with you, man. And I hope that what the following words I'm about to say don't come across as arrogant. This is just the pure intent that we had behind this album. And we still carry that even after it's out. I wanted to create one of the best extreme metal experiences that you could put together in the format of an album. And I actually think we achieved that. So whether it's from the album cover, whether it's from the lyrics, whether it's the songwriting, whether it's the production, whether it's the performance, I think that we hit the S spot on all of those personally, and the great thing about Trivax is that we're totally unpredictable. So people will have no idea what the next album's going to sound like after this, but I do. So
you've given me a few hints, but I won't say anything. But I definitely agree with you about it, about an album experience. And like I've said to you privately, for me, the things that stand out about this record is, one, you really let the brakes off creatively. which I thought was a masterstroke, because the things that I loved the most about Eloah Burns Out was where you leaned into your heritage, where you brought some of the Iranian influences into your music, and you've done it again, more so, more clean singing, which I think you did exceedingly well too.
Thank you.
It's kind of like more of everything, and very often many of my favorite bands succeed on the basis of more of everything that made them great. It also sonically sounds fantastic. So kudos to whoever did it for you. I had it up on the hi-fi the second you sent the wave files to me, and I was thoroughly impressed. I thought Eloah Burns Out sounded great, but this was a far more expansive sound. It has a three-dimensional quality to it. It feels like a very immersive record. And actually, coming back to your point about the experience, that immersive experience is part of the joy of listening to the Great Satan.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate the kind words, and I know you're a connoisseur of this genre, so I know that you're not just chatting shit for the sake of it either, so I do appreciate the kind words, man. I'm looking forward to actually experiencing it through the hi-fi myself. It's funny for me, like, I listen to those songs so much, like, one thing that I found, this is the Trivax album that I found myself coming back to listen to the most, okay? Like, if it's like, usually I think after you're done recording an album, a lot of musicians, and most, like maybe 95% of people, will be like, oh, I don't want to hear that again because I worked on it so much in the studio. We did that, but if any of the songs come on, I'm like, hell yeah, fucking, like, I actually enjoy listening back to it, and I don't know if many bands can actually say that about themselves, but also have something that's not shit either, I think
I've often, as a non-musician, or not entirely non-musician, I can semi-play an instrument, but somebody who's not a full-time musician in a band, I've often wondered that about bands. To what extent do you go back and listen to your music, and do you derive any enjoyment from hearing it the way that you would derive enjoyment from listening to, like, the latest Eclipse album?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's probably a rare answer as well, because I have obviously, I have like hundreds of musician friends. Many of them have been doing this for longer than I have, so it's not like they're inexperienced. Most of them would probably never say that, but for me and for us, it's, by the way, this is not just me. Matt and Sully in Trivax are exactly the same. We like listening back to our own stuff when we listen to it, but the thing is, we love playing it as well. Like, just being in rehearsal with Trivax, to me, that's like a I hate to use the term safe space, because there is a dangerous element to our music, and even when you're in the room, you can feel a palpable tension, like as if something's gonna like fucking break out, but then we kind of keep it contained between us and keep the energy flowing with the music. And yeah, it's just, we love these songs. We like playing them. We look forward to everything that we put together on a set list. There's never like a moment of dread for us, because we mean what we do. Again, there are bands that are like way bigger than Trivax, but how many of them can actually say what I am just saying right now? And I have to say as well, on that note, I am extremely grateful and humbled by the support that we have received. Every person who's ordered the copies of the album has been posting about it online, and shout out to some of them who've probably maybe even discovered the album through Into the Necrosphere, which of course is very cool. But all of those people, they are the building blocks to what we are doing, and we are doing this together. I think a lot of bands, especially in the context of black metal, will always say, oh, we release what we want and we don't care what people think. And it's like, that's bullshit. Okay, that's a lie. That's just a marketing strategy. If you really care about what you're doing, you are to some extent going to care about what people have to say about it as well. And for us, it's been so fucking reaffirming to see the support that we have. Like you said, at Fortress, the amount of people that came up to me, and luckily I have a humble background, so shit like this that doesn't go into my head at all. Because ultimately, I am also very confident behind what we've put together. We worked really hard on this. And not just this album, but the whole backstory of Trivax, we've worked our asses off. And it's just such a reassuring thing, and when you know that people actually give a shit about what you're doing, because we've experienced it the other way as well, so I'm only grateful for the audience that we have, whether they're new or whether they've been around for a while, people who come to the shows, people who travel to come to the shows, people who fly to come to the shows. That's, to me, it's crazy, but also a wonderful thing, and we will forever be in debt to everyone who has given us their time, energy, and their focus in the world of Trivax, and it just keeps on growing.
Well, you take your music seriously. I should actually not even call it your music per se. Your art you take seriously. You have something incredibly important and particularly nowadays very salient to say, and I think people respond to that. They believe that whether it's at a subconscious level or not, their time investment is rewarded by that level of sincerity in your music. I will differ from you, though, on it not getting to your head, because I personally witnessed on multiple occasions you charging people as much as £50 for a photo. You refused to sign CDs because you said they have to buy directly from you. So they didn't get to your head, mate.
I think that those are just business strategies, mate. I don't think that's anything to do with it going to my head. I'm just trying to run a business here. Like,
No,
how dare you?
What I keep thinking of.
What are you, a fucking communist?
That scene in Jerry Maguire where the kid goes up to the football player and what Sam says, "Will you sign my card?" Oh, I think it's easy though, baseball or football player. "Will you sign my card?" And it's like, "Sorry, little fella, I only sign projamflu.com."
Yeah,
No,
absolutely.
I'm only fucking around, of course. No, man, you handled it exceedingly well.
Thank you. No, it's really cool, man. I remember meeting this guy who was from Brazil, and he said he had only just moved to the UK, and he was like, this was at Fortress, because I met loads of fucking people there. It blew my mind, because when you look at the numbers of our podcast and stuff, to me at least, it doesn't look that big. But then when you go to a gig and then get approached by like 30 people, it's like, okay, well, this must just be a very small scene then, or something. I don't know, but it never gets old, man. I remember he was saying to me how he started listening to Trivax when he was back in Brazil, that he discovered the Serpent's Gaze EP, which is like, we're going back a few years now for that. But then, so I did like he asked me to sign the vinyl for him, so I did like a little nod to Brazilian Left Hand Path in the signature for him, and I think he appreciated that. But like, that's so cool for me to be in that position, because I remember like the amount of people that I've fucking gone up to and said, "Oh my God, when I was in Iran, I was listening to you," because that's like what it mirrored back at me, and it's Brazil. I was just like, that's really fucking cool. And we had a good number of Iranian people also come to the some of the listening sessions we had in London, and that was very powerful, very fucking emotional as well. It was surreal. Like, it was one of those evenings that it wasn't intended to be the way it was, but like, you really had to be there in the room, and there was like a real sense of anger and sadness, but also hope at the end of it, and it's just crazy to me, that I get to interact with that so closely just because of the art that we create and we put out there. It's it's a really good reminder not to underestimate our worth and our value. Just because it's an underground band doesn't mean that that's where it ends. And I'm more and more open to that as the years go by, and the more I see and experience these things.
Yeah. And again, I think there's something that's very liberating in what you're doing for the people of Iran. Them seeing you do it as boldly as you're doing it. I do think that is. I think it has a liberating effect on those people's spirits, and it's very necessary. All right. Let's get into some music. We are going to listen first and foremost to a band called Escapism, who have just announced their third full length. It says here, atmospheric.
Sorry to interrupt you there. Sorry, man. Just for a quick second, just as you're moving on to this next segment here, people should know I'm just going to say this before we go any further and hear a single note of music. I am not a hater. Okay. I'm just very direct with my opinions. I hope people can differentiate between that. And with that said, please carry on.
We can please carry on. Right. Escapism, third full-length announced. Atmospheric black metal group Escapism announced the release of their third studio album, Skresnova, on August the 1st via Naturmacht Productions. Other details and the first single, The Circle of Eternity, can be checked out via the Bandcamp, which is below. It is 12 minutes and 10 seconds, which suggests to me potentially a very lengthy intro. But let's give it 60 seconds and see what we think. I just realized I don't think that you and I have actually ever listened to metal. I mean, as long as we've known each other and as much as we talk about metal, we've never actually sat down and listened to metal music together. We've listened to a lot of other genres together, but never actually metal.
Yeah, no, that's very true. The only like metal thing I think you and I listen to is just watching Metallica's live show at Binge and Purge, which is fucking classic. You know, can't go wrong with that.
Which is the benchmark. So Escapism are from the Ukraine. This is their third album, as mentioned. I'm just going to say right from the off, and most people know this. If they haven't, they've stumbled onto this episode by mistake. I struggle with about 95% of atmospheric black metal because it is the crying by the riverside style black metal that I just don't. It just doesn't speak to me. I don't like seeing it live. I generally find that the vast majority of atmospheric black metal bands live are terminally boring. Songs are too long. There's no aggression, no anger. When it's executed well, it's great. But when I hear this, I go, would I listen to this, or would I listen to the last Coldbrand album, or would I listen to the last Marduk album, or would I listen to Funeral Winds or Ecclese? And I'm sorry, but it's just not. I would not in a million years ever listen to something like this willingly.
Yeah, I think I have a similar opinion on atmospheric black metal, but I'll give him credit because the structural arrangements at the beginning were actually really good. I thought, because there is an art to using simpler notes and making something of it, but we haven't heard of vocals yet. I was listening. I like harmonies. Okay, like I really like harmonies if they're done right, and then especially if it's not completely Iron Maiden predictable, and by that I'm not saying Iron Maiden's harmonies are not good. They are the kings of harmonies after Thin Lizzy. What I'm referring to is just like it's on a guitar scale, like how predictable is the harmony. Like for example, the intro, like Dissection, had a lot of unpredictable harmonies that just worked, that they would like switch in and out of different sort of harmonies if you want to look at the music theory part of it. Intro of Sumberlane being a perfect example of that. Or even the part in Where Did Angels Lie, and I love that about those guys. So with this one, they were kind of doing a little bit of the what I call unpredictable harmonies, but yeah, it sounded nice. I like the production. What I don't think I would like is this live. I don't think, because I've stage managed a bunch of bands that kind of sound like this, and it's always kind of like just t-shirt and stood there probably with like an Ibanez guitar playing these songs, and to me, yeah, it's not sufficient. I need more. I need the band to fucking try and kill someone. Not literally, but that's the attitude and approach that I want to see from a live band. But then there are also bands that try and do that, but then they're musically shit. Like that's a big wave that's happening in black metal right now. They all have the same style of band photo shoots. They all wear leather jacket and hoodie and wear leather back patches, and I think they're all fucking morons, because it's like black metal is not just the aesthetic, and all of them are shit musicians, which is like, how is it possible that not even one of you who's following this style can at least like offer me some good riffs? But they're not, and they're shit musicians, so they hide behind the aesthetic and everything is like all death, blah blah blah, nihilism, whatever, which I think is stupid anyway. I have no time for it, and I think those people should fucking piss off. But I think coming back into this album, it's I actually quite like the cover. I think they could have done without the logo or the text. I think it would have actually been more effective if they did that. But the design itself, I think, matches the music, and weirdly enough, even without seeing that they were from Ukraine, I probably could have guessed that, but
yeah,
that's just me.
I there's definitely, for me, in the black metal scene, there are multiple parallel scenes starting, and there's again there's this style, there's a style you just mentioned before, and then there's the style that I like. I would agree that if somebody likes atmospheric black metal, they probably, or this particular strain of atmospheric black metal, they will be into this. But then at the same time, I also was sitting here pondering, when it, I think atmosphere, or when something's labeled atmospheric black metal, there's something to me that's a bit of a misnomer there, because atmosphere is actually something that's also quite subjective. I wouldn't call Ruim an atmospheric black metal band, but you and I both saw that show. That had an incredible atmosphere. I wouldn't label Abduction atmospheric black metal. Their show at Fortress had an incredible atmosphere.
It's a subtle thing, isn't it?
Label Eccles an atmospheric black metal band. They had one of the best atmospheres.
Yeah. You're definitely onto something there with that. Yeah. I actually agree, because I think atmosphere is a subtle thing, isn't it? Like, unless you're completely going into the lo-fi neck of the woods or like doing ambient shit, then I don't think just having reverb and melodic stuff is like has a I don't like offering specific genre titles, because to me usually that's a lack of authenticity as well, and it's their third album, maybe they'll have a bit more character by the next one, but not just these guys, but in general, I'm kind of like, what is it, like post black metal, raw black metal, fucking true brutal anti-cosmic. I'm just kind of like, bro, like, do you have to like limit yourself to these things, like just make art for me, Well,
again,
like,
I would argue the people that do it best are the people that consciously steer clear of all of that. Ruim is a great example. I didn't, when I was talking to him and he was talking about not liking the scene and not wanting to be part of it, and I said I agreed. It was not that I don't want to be part of the community that we have, but that to me is the community that matters. That's why I'm into this. That's why, or that's not why, but it's part of what has kept me in this music. It's part of what I love about the music. It is. That's kind of part of the lifestyle that I feel comes with being into this music, or being born into this art form. but a lot of the ancillary stuff, and we'll get to the swirly of the week later on, because I think there's also a big chunk of people that think that black metal should be safe and should care about their sense of well-being. All of that stuff is garbage. That's not for me. I want nothing to do with that.
Well, the idea of a safe space is just so alien to me, especially in the context of this music. Like for us, we literally like playing this music back in Iran, the Middle East. Like if you even want to consider Soli's sort of path in this as well, it's kind of like playing this style of music excluded us from any safety. So the idea of having safe space within the music is totally alien for me. I'm not saying like I want to go to shows and have people get hurt or anything like that, but I think that in terms of the ideological aspect of it and what gets said in the words and the lyrics, then there should be no safe space for anyone, and the idea of a safe space is I don't think that even exists in the world. Like I said, maybe don't go around breaking laws or whatever, don't steal from people, don't fucking hurt people who don't deserve it, and then you're good, go and say whatever the hell you want in your music. But I had this conversation. Sorry, I'm going on for a while here.
No. I was about to say, just hold that thought, because you've created a natural segue for the first ever swirly of the week.
No. Oh, you like?
All right, you were saying.
Yeah, I had this Scottish gentleman talking to me, a really great guy, actually, super nice, and he recognized me from the podcast, actually, from Iblis, and then I was talking to him, and he's in this new band that he's put together. They're from Scotland, and he was saying to me that I want everyone to feel safe at my shows, and I said, okay, so that's a great notion, great gesture. Can you visualize that for me? Like, can you sort of describe what that actually looks like? And then he kind of went on to talk about it, and then the conclusion was that, this is one of those things, and that people just say it because it feels like it's the right thing to do or say. But then sometimes it's such an obvious thing as well, that it almost becomes off-putting. Like the incessant virtue signaling can be more off-putting, and it's not actually going to keep anyone safe anyway, So I think it's good to just give room to people to just be adults, okay? And if anyone acts out of line, then they'll get the consequences for it too, But this is the other thing as well, not this guy, but a lot of people who say, oh, we should champion these rights, we should protect so-and-so people. As soon as it comes to actual conflict, they pussy away. As soon as someone's actually doing or saying something, they're like, oh, well, that person's doing this, someone should go say something to them. It's you know what I mean? They have no ownership or accountability for even their own beliefs. So I don't know. I always kind of have a bit of a hard time with that one.
Well, the swirly of the week goes to somebody on Reddit calling themselves Incompatibilist. They write on a subreddit that sounds as brilliant as the name suggests. Is it sketch? I remember, so the person asks, what about Winterfellith? Meaning, are they sketch? I remember them being at the very least sketchy, but also that this was mainly due to one of them who hasn't been part of the band for a while now. I'm asking because they've been confirmed for a festival I regularly attend and which I always enjoy. Very welcoming place. A lot of visibly queer and leftist folk. And last year, they checked vests for NSBM patches and didn't let people in if they had those. So I'm a bit confused. Any more recent info on Winterfellith? The reason this person gets the swirly of the week is because for a scene that proclaims to hate Christianity, or fundamentalist Christianity as much as they do, they act an awful lot like Fred Phelps and his family. Because if you were to remove NSBM, sketch, right wing, and all the other, dog whistle and all this other bullshit that they tend to put in all of these stupid messages, and you were to replace that with Satan, you basically get a Westboro Baptist Church sermon. That's how insane the zealotry has become now. And I think the thing that galls me the most, and it's something that you were alluding to before, there is a very big difference between promoters, venue owners, etc., providing a safe environment, i.e., they're not letting people with knives and fucking machetes into the venue. There's toilets, etc., etc., and people taking and deferring your sense of well-being to somebody else, which is exactly what these people are doing. I have done a lot of investigation in the run-up to this news rant. In the last 20 years, there's not a single recorded case of a physical assault that I could find anywhere that happened at a metal show, particularly a black metal show, and was based on the person's race, sexual preference, or whether they were trans or not. Not one. If there was, I'm pretty sure you and I would be two of the first people to dive in and beat the fucking bejesus out of that person if they were anywhere near us, because everybody deserves to be able to go about their business in peace. But at the same time, we were also at the Destroyer 666 show last year that took place at a gay club. There were people of all stripes and persuasions there. Everyone seemed to be having a pretty fucking great time. Even Paige commented that it was one of the most diverse audiences that she's ever seen. And yet, we've got somebody who is so vulnerable, quote unquote, that they're even cheering on a festival for checking people's vests in case they might have a Horner patch or a Sargeist patch or, God forbid, a Burzum patch.
Yeah. The crazy thing with this is you make a very good point about Destroyer there, but I think the more, I can already envision this person. He's probably not a bad person, like they're probably thought, oh, this might be a good thing to do, but then didn't really think it through, and I think that's a lot of these people. I think it's kind of like a virtue signal, but with like a question mark at the end of it. It's like, is this okay? Am I in the right team? I'm doing the right thing, aren't I? I'm a good person. I want people to feel accepted, kind of thing. Because that on its own is kind of like, okay, yeah, fine. But then when you're talking about like, okay, or this band Sketch, okay, they're not okay, because I've had conversations with them about this, both online and offline, because just out of my own curiosity, as you know, I'm a very nosy person, so if like someone,
we both know the guys personally.
We do, absolutely, yeah. So I remember like having a conversation with Chris about this. I was like, oh, okay, why the fuck do you guys keep getting this shit then? And then he explained to me about some stuff that happened with the previous member. He said they fired him straight away after all that kicked off. So I was like, oh, okay, fine. Why are you still getting this then? He's like, I don't know. I really don't know. And I think that that's the very common denominator. And the thing about this in particular that bothers me the most is the checking the vest thing, because that to me is a little bit too Orwellian for my liking, because that's like, I don't know, that's like, you made the perfect example earlier, it's like, how's that different to going to church and then being told you have to like cover up your tattoos, or if you're wearing a shirt like that, you can't come in, which is a thing, in fact, the church is more relaxed on it than some of these guys are, and I'm not saying it's cool to go around wearing fucking Nazi back patches or whatever. I think that's, you're kind of like outing yourself in a way by just doing that, but like back patches and shit like that, it's like a tiny text. Like, also, I don't understand the thought behind, going around checking, is every band that you're wearing safe? That reminds me of fucking being back in Iran. That reminds me when like, even when I had like long hair and I had to like hide it in a beanie so I wouldn't get told off by the police, because they'll sometimes just take you in a fucking van and take you away. Or you weren't allowed to hold hands with a girl on the street unless she was your sister or wife or mother, like if it was a girlfriend, they'd take you both to the fucking nearby station, dedicated to those people, and then they harass your families and then let you off on bail. And then if you were like a multiple offender, they'll just like full on arrest you. Like that kind of shit, that like, it's got that type of authoritarianism written all over it, which I'm just not okay with. It's like, you live in a free society, so fucking act like it, So
it's a moral purity test. And again, to me, there's a very big distinction between showing somebody, as I would and you would, the appropriate level of common courtesy and respect at a show, and taking responsibility for their sense of well-being. It's not my responsibility to make you feel safe and to make you feel comfortable, nor is it the responsibility of a promoter. It is, however, your responsibility as an individual to decide whether or not you're going to feel safe at a show. And if you aren't going to feel safe, then don't make it our problem. Your anxiety should never ever be my problem. I'm anxious about a great many things. They don't intrude. My anxieties don't intrude in your life. And that's why Incompatibilist is on the receiving end of a historic first ever Swirly of the Week.
Well, don't assume their gender.
No. Well, that's why I said they. Because I'm a respectful man.
I thought you said he. Okay.
No, I was. I may have said he, but
for a moment I got a bit overwhelmed and partially triggered by the microaggression coming from your end.
For a moment, you nearly dialed off. You're like, I simply can't be on this anymore. All right, let's get to a couple of quick questions because we're at 34 minutes already and we've not even answered a single one. I've got like people fucking angry, going like, why? You missed my question from last week. Blah blah blah. All right, Razor Eater Metal asks, when is the collab series coming with you dudes? By which I'm assuming he's talking about the gym video that we recorded.
But we haven't told anyone about that.
I didn't mention it was a gym video. I've actually outed it now. But
that's okay.
I said we had done something together that you were going to post on a new channel that you were launching, and that's
right on.
I think that's about as much as I shared.
Yeah, no, that's in the works. I haven't figured out a date for it yet because I've actually got 3 episodes recorded now. One of which is with yourself. I got to put out the pilot episode first. I was gonna put it out in June, and I was like very close to like getting it done. I got sent the final version from Matt, the Trivax drummer, because he's my editor and he's been doing a fantastic job at everything. And then the war kicked off. I was like, I don't know if it makes sense releasing fucking fitness videos in the middle of all this, but just kind of like assess it and then see how things kind of progress. And then when things are a little bit more stable or at least consistent, then we'll get them out there. Because it's great content. I think it'll do wonders to actually perhaps teach people a few things, but also just get the motivation that, look, there's these guys doing it. Why couldn't I do it? In fact, I'm going to go and dedicate myself so I can, like, I don't know, outlive you guys, or I'm going to go get in shape because I got inspired by what you're putting out there, so that's kind of the real purpose behind it. And also shooting the shit in the gym in the whilst you're like fucking out of breath, talking in between sets is different. There's like a filter that you normally get during podcasts that's not there. So I think you and we had a really good one, and we talk about all kinds of shit in it as well. It's a really powerful episode.
Dude,
so,
we were all over the place in terms of topics.
We were.
Well, look, one thing I'd also say is if you like collaborations with myself and Shayan, there's a fucking shitload of them coming. We're going to be doing another Unholy Podcast Alliance in Bergen. Yeah. You and I are going to do a walkthrough of the venue. That'll go out into the Necrosphere. Mm-hmm. I'm sure we'll think of other shit. Might have to drag you along, and I might film another couple of food reviews as well. I quite enjoyed doing the Goth Burger food review.
Oh yeah, we keep this between us because I might actually be doing a little bit more at Beyond the Gates now, and I'm also getting fucking tattooed there, So
I was going to ask you the other day, what are you getting done?
I'll have to show it to you, but it's related to my heritage and my background. Okay, I know it's not a fucking swastika, you motherfuckers. How dare you question this?
You got the hairstyle of Edward Norton on American History X. I was like, yeah, he's getting the chest tattoo.
Yeah, not going for the curb stomp. Isn't it great that I instantly know what you're referring to? Even no, it's actually a farvahar. It's a Zoroastrianism. Well, it's a symbol related to Zoroastrianism, and it's actually quite beautiful, and it has a very positive message. So that's why I want to get it. Like I'm actively trying to be closer to home, but also actively just try and be a better human being. And I feel like that symbol perfectly represents that. So there we go.
No, I can relate to that. Actually, that is a nice way for us to swiftly transition into the next question. Metal Boomer asks, what do you say to those waving IR flags who were silent for the 2019 repression?
Well, I don't really know what to say to them. So when you say IR flags, is that because
I would assume he means Iranian flags.
Yeah, but we have two flags. There's the current official one, which we all hate, which has got Allah in the middle, and then there's the OG one with the lion and the sun, and that's the one that we support. I suppose it represents the monarchy. I'm not a monarchist at all, but I use it as a way of basically saying fuck you to the Islamic version of our flag, the Islamic Republic version. I don't know, man. There's lots of things. Iran and Iranian people, we've been totally ignored and kind of like no one's ever given a fuck about us. That's why like. We've had our people killed and fucking tortured, and we've had to put up with the sanctions, and there's never any kind of like big press about any of us. If something happens anywhere else in the world, everyone's kind of like all over it like shit around flies. With Iran, we've never had that, and it only happens when the powers that be are using it as usually as ways of negotiations, whether it's the same as what happened with the Masa Amini protests. That was just leverage game at the end of it between the democratic administration and Iran, who later, like a year or so later, ended up giving Iran $6 billion right before the October massacre happened in Israel. So it's kind of like, but by the way, these are things people should really be paying attention to, making note of. And I don't know what I say. Like fuck him. Whatever. I don't care.
I don't know whether you know this, but our two countries, or our two mother countries, are connected in their corruption. Mm-hmm. In that the African National Congress, who's the ruling party, political party in South Africa, are known to be beneficiaries of under-the-table cash from the Iranian government. Mm. They were effectively bankrupt and not able to pay their staff before the election in 2024. A delegation visited Tehran and they returned, and upon their return, the coffers were flush. Months thereafter, it was them who took Israel to the Human Rights Court, and the common thinking is that it was Iran that paid them to do so.
Okay, that would not surprise me at all. I actually wasn't aware of that connection. By the way, totally off topic, but I was like, it was only like fairly recently I discovered that South Africa actually has access to nukes. I had no idea about that.
We I don't think we do now. We very nearly did in the late 80s. But it was kind of the same situation to Iran, where they basically said disarm or we're sending in the troops.
Right. Well, I think nowadays South Africa only has racist nukes.
Well, they don't have a functioning military, so even if they had nukes, it wouldn't matter, mate. We have one nuclear power plant. And I believe, I speak under correction on this, but I believe that of the 4 reactors, 2 don't work because they've just not bothered to maintain them, which is why we now go through a periodic cutting of the power called load shedding. I can talk forever about just how atrocious that government is and how badly the country has been run in the years since apartheid. But that's for another conversation. Let's break this up with a bit of music. I was going to listen to Unleashed, but time is limited, so let's listen to something I know that I've got a better chance of liking. Inhuman Condition have posted a new single. Loved the previous one. It says here, 1 week prior to the official release of their Mind Trap record, American Death Thrashers Inhuman Condition put the new and final advanced single, The Betterment Plan, out for listening. Let's give it a whirl. I feel exactly the same way about this as I felt about the first single that I heard off this album. It is like watching an action movie that in your heart of hearts you know is going to be an absolute bomb with the critics. You know, people are going to watch. The I wouldn't say elitists, because frankly I regard myself as more of an elitist than I am some fucking loser that just likes everything. But the people that sort of have gotten to the point where they don't like anything new that comes out are going to sneer at this and say, I've heard it before. I have heard it. I have heard this before, heard it done better, but there's just something about it I find so enjoyable.
Is that Terry Butler on bass? Yeah?
It is, yeah. So this band is actually star-studded, mate. Terry Butler plays bass, and then Taylor Nordberg, soon-to-be former Deicide guitarist. I'm sarcastic, of course. Somebody pointed out when I listened to the first single that Kevin had left Deicide. I didn't even know. They never. Not to my knowledge, they never officially announced it. No Metal News websites picked it up. That aside, it features Taylor, who is currently in Deicide. God knows for how long he'll be in there. And then Jeremy Kling, who at one point was rumored to be the future drummer for Slipturd. Before they chose whoever the fuck is drumming for them now. But yeah, so they got some, they have some street cred in the band.
Yeah, sounds cool. It's okay.
Yeah, look, as I said, it's nothing massively original. It's nothing that you're going to listen to and go, fuck, I've never heard music that sounds like that before.
Listen, I like the groove. I like the production. I actually quite like the vibe. I would actually prefer to maybe read the lyrics on that one because I was intrigued by the song title. But I like it, but I'm also kind of like, I like it, but then that's where it ends. I like it.
How important are lyrics to you in a band or in a song?
Depends, because lyrics are a really good way to gauge if the band are pussies or not, you know. And what I mean by that is not just like having like harsh or like offensive lyrics, no, but like what are the sort of topics that actually that are intriguing to the band that make them want to like sing about it, you know? That's kind of like, I think it's a very good way of gauging what a band is generally about. It's not always the thing. You got to put the whole package together. But for example, conceptually, I think, at the moment, for example, I know you may not be like their biggest fan, but I think Blood Incantation have got very interesting lyrics. Or at the very least, like very interesting like concepts. So immediately, like I knew when I was gonna have Paul Riedel on, we were gonna talk about interesting stuff, you know. So to me, even if like the music doesn't like do it for me 100%, if I feel like a band or at least something, you know, singing about like lost ancient civilizations or UFOs or and then actually meaning it, that's very interesting to me. Immediately I'm like, oh cool, I want to connect with you more. So it makes me want to consume more of the music so that I can somehow like create a connection with the band and what they've got, you know. So I like those kind of points of intrigue, if you will, you know. That's why like, you know, like suicidal black metal to me is like the least attractive of all genres out there, you know, like way outside of black metal. It's the least interesting thing to me because nothing that you're going to say is going to grab my attention. I already from the get-go think you're a fucking loser and a fucking limp dick pussy. So I don't want to hear what you've got to say. I don't want to listen to your music, and you can fuck off. If you sing about ancient civilizations and mushrooms and LSD and different dimensions and that kind of stuff, I'm like, yeah, let's talk. Yeah.
Yeah, bands can sing about more or less whatever they want to, really, from my perspective. I'm a little worn out on any sort of gore lyrics. Sometimes it's fine, but for the most part,
that's another one, maybe.
I'm not hugely interested in hearing any gore lyrics.
You say that whilst we're in a Cannibal Corpse top. I love it.
I know. The irony isn't lost on me, but I mean, Eaten Back to Life, mate. What a masterpiece.
No, they're very creative about it, especially I think on the latest albums. All the different ways they've sat down and thought about how a person could die. It is like the song title "Ice Pick Lobotomy." Like that's pretty creative. You know, you got to give him credit for that. You know,
that's kind of like Deicide. I mean, how many more times can you sing a song about how much you hate Jesus? I would say so. I was going to ask you your favorite song lyrics because there's many. It always depends on my mood, you know, what I'm listening to at the time. But whenever I think of that question, what's my favorite song lyric? Instantly coming to mind, of Repentance.
It is unnatural.
Of Legion, Deicide, Repent to Die, go fuck your God will be my final words. To die is just the concept of living. But it's because of the way that it's delivered. To be forgave, salvation blessed with pain, endeavored is the blame of creation. It's like so fucking brilliant. It's so well performed, so well executed. And actually, I think that Glenn doesn't necessarily get the credit for those first three records. Like he had a poetry to the way that he was writing lyrics on those first three albums that he doesn't have anymore. But those first three records, I think a lot more thoughtful in the lyrics than he necessarily gets the flowers for. What are your favorite lyrics?
Straight off the top of my head, Wataine's "Waters of Vine, do not mistake me for a star, although I shine like them at night, but behold instead the darkness in between them, the devil's light." I think that's a pretty good one. I think Watain from like 2007 to 2010, okay? Maybe some Casus stuff as well, you know? So to me, the trinity of Casus Luciferi, Sworn to the Dark, and Lawless Darkness, you want to talk about poetry, those albums are full of them. And that's actually, like, to me, I would almost, in terms of my level of enjoyment, put the lyrics a slight step above the music itself. You know, like the music's cool, especially because they kind of like it was in terms of like guitar chords and stuff, very stripped back compared to a lot of black metal. It was almost like black metal punk rock or like black metal AC/DC even, especially like on Sworn to the Dark, where there's a clear formula to how the songs are. You know, they all have like a similar kind of vibe. and then it gets a bit more experimental like later on with like Stellar War on the album. But lyrically, he had some fucking unbelievable lyrics on those albums, you know. And Casus has its good moments lyrically as well, for sure, you know. But I think that Sworn and Lawless have got fantastic lyrics, you know. But you know, that's in the context of black metal, just straight off the top of my head. I actually, you know, there's lines I've got that I don't know, maybe it's too pretentious to talk about that, you know, but like there's lines that I've come up with that I read that back and I'm like, what the fuck was wrong with me at that moment when I wrote this? Like the song Here Comes the Flood, there's a line in there before it goes into the bass break where it says how I could orgasm at the sight of fellow men drowning.
I did pick that up.
It's like I don't know, I don't like, and there is a very genuine part of me that gives birth to that kind of content, you know, like it's very real. But I almost like sometimes do a double take. I'm like, oof, like, am I okay? You know, like why did I say that and then mean it for that moment? So yeah, there's lots of stuff. If I think long enough, I can probably think of more. But you know, those are just some off the top of my head. Actually, you know what? There's one line that I just fucking like. It just creates so much visualization. You know, Metallica, Welcome Home, Sanitarium.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one line. He's getting better. Can't you tell? You know the bit in the cleaner part.
Yeah. I
fucking love that song because that's got like Hetfield all over it, because it's a sarcastic line, isn't it? You know, it's, you know, imagining this sort of mental asylum kind of situation, you know, where moon is full, never seems to change, and you know, like all these like different elements about it, where he says he's getting better, can't you tell? You know, where it's like he's obviously not getting better. So I fucking love lines like that. I think Hetfield's actually got some very, very good ones. We can sit here and talk about some of his lyrics all night. Except I am the table.
I was very surprised that you didn't choose Fat, Juicy, and Wet by Sexy Red.
Actually, that's a very good shout. That's a very good shout. You know, lately I've been on a massive binge on AC/DC, right?
Oh, yeah?
And yeah, they're my latest gym band. Like AC/DC and ZZ Top. I've been listening to these two quite a bit in the gym.
What
lately.
AC/DC albums?
I started from the start. I like listened to an album straight from the get-go. I'm very, very keen on Let There Be Rock, even though the production's a little more like rough on that. Like when you listen to Whole Lotta Rosie, which is funny, you know, because it's like it's the most like body positive song there is, you know. When you listen to that song, like the like the production and the guitar sound is like really dirty on that particular song, especially on like the right hand side. But it just has so much fucking groove and so much testosterone without like I don't know, man. I love it, you know. Or they got that song Riff Raff. Do you know Riff Raff?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, dude, I know I can talk about AC/DC till the fucking cows come home.
Yeah.
My favorite AC/DC album overall, I would say, is Power Age. My favorite AC/DC song is, and this is the most unpopular pick, but I don't give a fuck because it's my pick, and I love it, and it's because it was one of the first AC/DC albums I got, so I always have an affinity for it. But I fucking love the song "Fly on the Wall." I think the opening riff of "Fly on the Wall" is a masterclass in how to use simplicity to incredible effect.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know what? Now that you say it, I think Power Edge is probably my favorite album as well. You know, like from start to finish. Like now that you say it, I know I mentioned Let There Be Rock earlier, but I think Power Edge, especially like songs like What's Next to the Moon. Down, down, down. I'm like, fuck, bro. Like there's so much fucking groove, you know, like there's just there's so much fertility in those early like AC/DC albums. It's like women must have just gotten pregnant listening to it back then.
Well,
But
I wonder how many kids were created to the sounds of Squealer of Dirty
oh
Easy,
yeah,
Cheap. I mean, that song just oozes fucking manliness and and baby.
it does. It really fucking does, man. Yeah. No, you made a good choice with that album, or like Down Payment Blues as well. That's a fucking good one.
The thing is, in the debate between Bon Scott and Brian Johnson, Bon Scott wins hands down for me. Like I really like Brian Johnson. There's many Brian Johnson albums and songs that I really enjoy, but Bon Scott just had such a way about him. I don't know how else to describe it. He had, when people say that person has the X Factor, I mean, the X Factor, he literally had fucking shovels full of it just poured over him.
I know. It's fucking crazy how young he was when he died as well, man. Fucking mental.
1000%. All right. Let's answer a quick question and then listen to another song. All right, so
cool.
Let's stay with.
I'm having fun with this.
Yeah, no, people just need to brace themselves. It's going to be one of the longest news rants of all time. But anyway, Robbie Bastamo asks, number 1, what is the darkest black metal album? And then 2, what is your thickest, most thunderous death metal album? So let's start with black metal. Darkest black metal album is, to me, when I first saw that question, I thought, oh, that's a tough one. Then I realized, no, it's actually not.
Okay, so what's your darkest black metal album?
Eccles, Melano. And the reason for that is because as we've gotten to know Nas, and as I've understood where those lyrics are coming from, the personal aspect of the song, the theme, everything like that, the fact that these are literally his nightmares that he's putting into song, and then you hear a track like Effie Altus after you've had that conversation with him, it takes on a completely different feel. To me, I would say Melano is it's one of the most dark and just punishing listens, but also ultimately one of the best. Right,
I really got to think here. It's funny, actually. I personally consider the Dreaming Eye to be a bit darker, but I guess when you put the lyrics into perspective, sure, I think there's Melano's definitely got some power to it. It's an album I've not listened to for a long time, but I think it makes sense. So, World Without End by Catharsis. Do you remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty dark fucking album as far as I'm concerned. Those guys created something like completely fucking monstrous, and how they kind of like just left it, like it's like, no one like heard much from them after that. Well, they kind of put like a couple of little things here and there, but the band did just kind of disappear. And I think, yeah, World Without End by Catharsis, that's a very dark album. You asked, the question was dark. I would also say some of the Lavis on Jangal stuff, obviously he's very close to me, and I've worked with him on a lot of those songs. Some of them are just, things that we put together. But I think a song like, there's a song, I actually kind of helped craft that one. There's a song on the Lavis on Jangal album, Torikio Marg, the album Darkness and Death, which came out 5 years ago. That one, the track 4 of it is a clean guitar where I'm playing, but then on top of what I'm playing is an interview with a 16-year-old Afghan kid who stabbed his mother to death whilst on meth. And it's the fucking most revolting, darkest thing. I think even though I kind of helped put it together, it's hard. It's really like hard to like listen back to it, especially, unfortunately, the experience is only truly authentic for those people who can understand Farsi. but like there's a, he's just describing how he was. The song is called Dar Galbe Pucci, which means at the heart of nothingness, or at the heart of void. And I think the way I did the guitars on that, mixed with this kid's interview with the police and like a therapist, where he's saying he took meth and then he started hallucinating some kind of monster when his mom was talking to him, and he got so scared he just ran to the kitchen and just like attacked his mom with a knife, and then had to like hide her body in like a chest. And then afterwards, the guy asks him like, "What do you miss the most about your mother?" And then he says, "Her smiles and her kindness," and that's the last line of the song, as the guitar kind of picks up and then just fades out. It's pretty. So you want to talk dark? I think that's that kind of takes the cake, really.
Absolutely. Follow-up question: thickest, most thunderous death metal album?
Oh yeah. Probably we'll have to just because of that description, I'll probably have to go with something from Mortician, I'd imagine. Would you reckon?
To me, it's an easy answer, mate. Legion by Deicide.
Legion's a good one, yeah.
The rumble of the bass, how abrasive that record sounds, how aggressive it is from start to finish. It is. It's basically like the Exorcist of death metal albums.
Well, tell you what,
to this day has the most impact of almost any death metal album that you will ever hear in your entire life.
I'll give a more defined answer then. Annihilation of the Wicked by Nile.
Yeah, I do like Annihilation of the Wicked very, very much as well. I think you may be a slightly bigger Nile fan than I am. I kind of felt like Nile for me had shown me everything that they could show me on the album prior to this most recent one, and I know a lot of people have liked it. I loved Val Nilotic Rights, really loved it actually.
Fucking great album.
Because of that, I was super excited about the Underworld Oasis Hall, but I found very little about the record that made me want to go back to it.
It is funny because they're very similar sounding albums as well. Like in terms of production, like it's a totally different style, and obviously it's the second album they did without Dallas. To me, Nile, regardless of where they are at the moment, they are maybe like a top 5 band for me, like out of any genre. I have a very special connection with Nile's music, like the older stuff, the newer stuff, but some of the fucking shit that they put together, man, it just like there's so much testosterone, and it kind of upsets me like how underrated they are in a way, but part of that is their own fault for not pursuing their stage production side of things further. I know they kept saying, oh, it's all about the music. Yeah, but your music is so complicated, most people can't fucking understand it. So imagine this, Jackie, right? This is something I've thought about for years, and if I have Carl on a podcast, I'll tell him this. Well, I wouldn't say it as sort of aggressively as I'm saying it now, but you look at what Amon Amarth have done with their stage show, right? Like they're not my favorite band at all, but what they've done is they created an image, and they've done a spectacular work of accompanying that with a massive fucking stage production. Like you got boats and shit. I think Watain are another great example of like stage shows that are really like transcendental. Alice Cooper, King Diamond being literally the king, no pun intended, of stage production. Now imagine Nile with something like that, with fucking pyramids and shit all over the place, and almost like a Pink Floydian style of fucking stage show. How fucking cool would that be? And like actually have like pharaohs and people like carrying fucking mummy like sarcophagus and then bringing it on stage and shit. That would be so much fucking cooler.
You never got to see them, unfortunately, when they were, in my view, as a live band, when they were in their prime, and that was when they had Chief Spires in the band. I was fortunate enough to get to see them in 2002, right before he left. Amazing. He cut such an intimidating figure on stage because he was at the time like really muscled up. You had this way of like commanding and yelling at the audience, and they did.
You're
that
talking about John Visano, right? I think his name was John Vasano, the guy with the massive fucking forearms and super long hair.
Yes.
Yeah, John Vasano. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So I what did I think it was? Chief Spires. Sorry, yes, it was John Vasano. But anyway, so he was on stage, super commanding, super like just the charisma, the power that he exuded from stage. And they did the thing where they played the Egyptian music in between songs, and he's just yelling at the audience in between everything. It was absolutely otherworldly. I grew to like Dallas. Without Dallas, I just don't see myself being particularly interested in seeing them play live. They need a defined frontman. So I don't actually like bands that don't have a frontman. I might be just I might be sounding like a broken record, but again, it's grew up at a certain time where I was schooled on certain things, and when it comes to frontmen, they are of critical importance to my ability to enjoy a band live.
Yeah, I do see where you're coming from with that. I mean, even when Dallas was in the band, he wasn't even then, he wasn't really the frontman per se. He did more vocal lines than the rest. But I think I know what you mean. Although saying that,
he grew. Sorry to interrupt, but he grew into the role after a period of time, because I saw them twice with him in the band, and I do remember him, introducing Lashed Slave Stick, and it's like he was doing a lot to get the crowd riled up that second time, and it worked well. But to me, I need the presence of a front man. I need a focal point on stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when that's kind of my role, so I take a lot of responsibility in that. I'm also extremely critical of the frontman position, and I know exactly what you mean. You mentioned Dallas is fucking funny. Do you ever see the music video for Permitting the Noble Dead to Descend to the Underworld?
No.
Mate, it's the funniest thing. Why is it funny? Because it's just it's one of the songs from Those Whom the Gods Detest from 2009. I think it's like track 4 of the album. Great song, fucking amazing solo. But it's like, I don't know who decided to fucking edit this video. So if people want to check this out, they can go on YouTube and look this up for themselves. So Nile, Permitting the Noble Dead to Descend to the Underworld. Watch the music video, but watch it all the way through. It's only like a few minutes long. Fucking the whole song is just them on stage playing the song, and then like different montages and whatnot, and this is from when Dallas has got hair. But then somewhere in the middle of that, as soon as the solo finishes, he's fucking bald. So it's kind of like it's the funniest thing.
The brutality of the music, mate. It's so brutal that he lost the what little hair he had left. But that's like performance of it.
That's literally what all the comments are saying. They're like, the solo was so brutal it blew off his hair. But seriously, go watch that video. It's the fucking funniest thing, man. I don't know if we can watch it here, but yeah, it's too funny.
I'll see if I can dig it up in a second. Let's listen to the new Panzerchrist single first of all, though. Danish black and death metalers Panzerchrist have debuted on Walpurgis Nacht single, or Walpurgis Night, sorry, which is part of their next studio album, due out digitally on August the 22nd, 2025, via Emancipation Productions. This record is produced, mixed, and mastered by Tu Madsen at Ant Farm Studios. I really liked the previous album, very much, actually. One before that as well, top notch. So
I've never listened to these guys before.
We'll talk about it in a second, but their last two albums strongly recommend. pause there. Just for context, so this is the second part of, I don't know whether this is going to be a trilogy, or I can't remember off the top of my head, or whether it's planned as a kind of multi-part series, but this is the second part of a series that started last year called Maleficium. And that, like I said, very good album. The album prior to that, Last of a Kind, that came out in 2023, also very good. I think in particular, Sonia Rosalind All, their vocalist, is a fucking pretty serious frontwoman. The song, though, I don't know. There's stuff I like about it. There's a couple of things that I dislike, but I'll let you tell me your thoughts first.
That didn't do anything for me. I don't like the cover. I don't like the sound of the drums. I don't like the vocals. Songwriting was not really doing anything for me. Started to get a little bit more interesting when the blast beats kicked in, but then the guitars didn't really push it further than that. It's just lazy palm mutes. I'm sorry, guys. Just didn't vibe with that, I'm afraid.
Yeah, as I said,
I'm sure they worked hard on it. It's just not for me.
It's a shame because they genuinely are a good band, but I didn't mind that opening riff. I quite like Sonia's vocal, so that I thought was cool. I like that undercurrent of industrial sampling that you have going through the song. But for me, where it kind of falls apart a little bit, and maybe it's just a question of listening to the song through from start to finish, but where it falls apart for me a little bit is in that blast beat. That blast beat just sounds awkward. It doesn't sound like it. There's no natural build up to it. There's no rhyme or reason for the song upping the tempo at that particular point. And then when it's when you're kind of mid flow, like you say, it just sounds blazy. It doesn't sound like there's like I don't like blasting without intent, if you know what I mean. Like a band that blasts with intent and does it extremely well is Nile. But there's an awful lot of bands that when they blast, it's almost kind of like it's like they feel there should be an obligatory blast in every single song that they do, and then when they do it, it's just like da da da. They just like they're playing scales, and I just don't.
That actually felt very much the case there. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. Yeah, like I feel like I don't like shitting on bands, because I know how hard it is to do this, and I like big chords, I like chuggy riffs, but I just I didn't connect with that at all. It's the drums that were particularly off-putting because I can tell it's like a almost. I don't know. I ran out of good things to say already, so yeah, never mind.
Well, we're gonna check out the music video for Permitting the Noble Dead to Descend to the Underworld per your request, and
it's brilliant. When the moment comes, it's fucking funny. I love it.
All right, well, let's check it out.
And now he's bald.
Oh my god.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, no, that is very funny.
Solo so fucking brutal it blew his hair off his head, just like mine did.
Reminded me how good that song is, though. By the way,
right?
only because he was in the top right hand bucket. You know who I don't think gets a fair shake necessarily. Tim Ripper Owens. That that version of A Touch of Evil that we just saw there. I mean, that is fucking fantastic. And I know I'm going to say things that'll upset a great many Judas Priest diehards, but you know, there are mitigating factors. Rob Halford is an older man, but I would argue that live version of A Touch of Evil there, Owens' performance is better than anything I've heard from Halford since at least the mid-90s. So he's a very, very, very capable singer. Very capable.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree, man. I think that. No, there was. Who was it? There was someone who actually gifted me with one of his CDs, and I was very impressed when I listened to it the first time. It was like when I first moved to the UK, actually, I think. But yeah, he was very good.
I thought Demolition was a pretty decent record as well. I don't know why it gets so much hate.
Yeah.
All right, let's carry on with some questions. Grind Your Mind 77. Where is my Sodom top 5? Also, who wins in an arm wrestling match? You or Shayan? Shayan would win in that arm wrestling match. I don't
know, man. You're pretty naturally fucking strong.
The Sodom top 5. It would break my heart, mate, to arm wrestle you. Seeing you just twisting a little wrist down. No,
it's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog.
Is hard as nails. I've seen it firsthand. Sodom top 5.
That sounds so dodgy out of context, by the way. Yeah. No, tell you what, Jackie, the best way to answer that question is watch the gym video that we made, and I think that'll give you an idea.
Correct.
I think it would be good if you and I did arm wrestling. I think it would be close. You would probably just I think genetically you're probably more likely to win. But also I'm a fucking, wild, like there's no giving up in me, so I don't know. What do you think, Jackie? Serious question. And this is not like a competitive talk. From an analytical perspective, which one of us do you think would win at arm wrestling?
Your biceps are definitely more developed than mine, without a doubt. Which is why I think you'd win.
Okay. Fair enough. But then you also have more height advantage.
If I leaned into it with my weight, maybe I'd have a better chance. And I'm not, I'm not being Johnny Humblecakes here and pretending that I'm weak. I'm not.
No, you're not.
There's stuff that I'm extremely strong at, but everybody is built differently, and I know where I'm strong and where I'm not. Arm wrestling is not something that I've ever been particularly strong at. Plus, you play guitar, mate. Your wrist is going to be way stronger than mine. Because you're using it constantly. I don't. The fucking sum total of my wrist work is, bit of self-love. only kidding, of course, and using the mouse outside of going to the gym. So
I was going to say, man,
I think you'd have the edge on me on that one.
It's not just the guitar. I was practicing my right wrist long before the guitar joined my life.
The problem with me is when it comes to that is there's so much to grab hold of. I need my wrist doesn't really get the workout.
It's more of a core workout trying to. Love it.
So, other question. And this is one I was super keen for us to talk about, non-music related. Margarita Costa 270. First, an admonishment. I forgot to answer this question, but I'm glad we've kept it for now. What are the 5 movies you dislike most?
Oh.
So the
is that for
five
me?
movies,
Five movies I dislike most.
we'll both answer. 5 movies that you hate the most. That's how I interpret that question.
Well, I watched this. I think shit that I dislike, because the thing is with me, Jackie, like there are films that are shit that I absolutely love. The Room, for example, or like Ben and Arthur. Like, have you watched Ben and Arthur?
No. I haven't put myself through The Room either. I saw enough of it on The Artist when I watched that, or The Disaster Artist, whatever it's called, that I was like, I don't need to actually see the movie.
I love The Room so much. I've memorized the whole dialogue. Like, if you sit down and watch that film with me, I'll like go through it line by line with you.
I didn't.
No, this is what he comes out and says. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh yeah.
So how's your sex life? But seriously, I don't know. I guess we're just kind of fucking having fun here. I don't know if there's time constraints, but we can
talk as long as we want.
Can we please watch the trailer for Ben and Arthur on YouTube? I want to,
Yeah.
Like I had to live through it, so everyone else has to go through it now as well with me. So yeah. Go on YouTube, just search Ben and Arthur. The actual film's actually a lot worse than the trailer, but that should really say something.
Have you ever seen a Neil? Is it Neil Breen?
Neil Breen. I don't think I have. No. What's that all about?
Hold on.
Also, in the meantime, I'll try and think of films that I really do not like.
Dude,
but it's mostly new woke shit that I don't like. Like I can name a few films that I've seen. Like, for example, Speak No Evil. I watched that film and I fucking hated it because clearly the main character is based off of Joe Rogan. Like, clearly it is based off of him. It's literally like, I'm surprised Joe Rogan didn't actually sue them for the film. And they're trying to say he's some kind of psychopath who like kidnaps people's like families and babies and shit.
So you should actually watch the original Danish version of that movie. It's fucking brilliant. It's really, really good. I mean, the Hollywood remake, is bollocks.
They basically they based it on Joe Rogan. That's the most obvious thing.
I agree. But the original Danish movie, really, really good. All right, I'm going to show you the Ben and Arthur trailer as per your request. Hold on, let's get this up here. But then I'm going to show you a Neil Breen trailer for a movie called
Trailer Twash
for a movie called Twisted Pair. And I guarantee you, whatever you thought was fucking dog shit before, prepare to have those. Prepare to have your perceptions heavily challenged. After
I don't know, man. All I can say is I apologize for the following 1 minute and 46 seconds of your lives.
All right, here we go.
The public has long awaited the final decision of the Court of Hawaii, and the courts have voted yes. Homosexuals do have the right to get married.
If we ever get into a war and they draft my ass, the first thing I'm going to tell them is if I'm not good enough to get married in this country, then I sure as hell ain't dying for it.
Damn it, Arthur! I need to know that I can count on you.
I mean, are you still a homosexual, is what I mean.
We have ways to cure that for you. If you just join us for Bible study.
How dare you talk to your brother like that?
The brothers and what are you doing here?
Remember me?
Tammy, I'm gay. I've already told you that.
Then I'll be gay too, and then that'll make it right for us to get married again, huh?
No, I do not love you. Now get the fuck out of here.
And my heart, my stomach, my liver, everything. It just fell right out onto the floor.
The congregation is concerned that your brother's homosexuality may rub off on the children and send their souls straight to hell.
Well, you should probably find a church that knows the true meaning of love and understanding.
I'm willing to do anything. I mean, even the final deed to get accepted back into the church.
Hi. Yeah. I need an ambulance.
All right, mate. I can see that's a load of fucking dog shit. However, I see your Ben and Arthur, and I raise you something that will shock you to your very core.
Please
Neil,
bring it on. I'm excited.
I will, mate. And this is one of his probably more well-funded movies. But yeah, brace yourself. Neil Breen is the name of the filmmaker.
Right.
Made famous by one of my favorite YouTube channels, Space Ice, because he did like commentary reviews of all these movies, and if you ever have the time, make sure you watch those because it's fucking hysterical. But anyway, check this out.
My name is Cade. I have an identical twin brother, Kale. Then one day it all changed. There was a bright light in the sky and time stood still. We were both selected. The pure majesty of nature.
Reality. The corrupt version.
A limitless digital universe, connecting all shared virtual reality. Digital tribes. I miss what I never knew. I'll take you out to dinner.
Leave me alone. I have a boyfriend.
Let's have it. Let's have a drink. Let's have a drink.
Leave me alone. I have a boyfriend.
I'll meet you back here at 8 o'clock. I miss my brother. I'm with you. Programmable matter. Kuz's biological mutant warfare plans must be stopped. Who am I? What am I?
It's a killer with unidentifiable DNA.
In AI, fright and interest are not far from each other. Things can...
All right, I'll stop there before we lose the entire audience. Like I said, this is one of his better funded pictures. So yeah, mate. You think Ben and Arthur is bad? You ain't seen nothing yet.
Bro, fucking hell! What the hell did I just fucking watch? I need to show this to the Trivax guys. They have a similar sense of humor. They'll fucking love this.
I'll send you.
I can't believe
some of the Space Ice stuff because he actually. How I know about him and I know about this movie is because Space Ice did something on him, and it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
Bro, that's the most I've laughed all day. That was fucking brilliant. It kind of reminds me of the Captain Alex stuff. Did you ever watch that? Who Killed Captain Alex?
No.
Can we? I know this. I know we're on this for a while, man. Can we just very quickly just have a look at Who Killed Captain Alex? Because this is the thing. I love shit like this. Okay. Sometimes.
Oh my god. Okay, when people see this, they can understand why I just did this. Okay,
I love this. We used to like get so fucking stoned and watch this film before, man. Honestly, just people don't even, if they're on Spotify, just listening is sufficient. Just that's all you need. Yeah.
All right. If you got kids in the room, don't worry. This is appropriate for all ages.
Yeah, we found German tourists. We cooking him. We conquered Bruce Lee. We call him Blue Seal.
We get the Tiger Mafia. Take a government. It's a Muganda Wake. Take a Muganda Wake.
Oh, I'm so hungry.
Where are you?
Mamma mia! Ow, 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 ow. Uganda! What up?
Oh. Damn, that thing's fucked up. Oh shit, dang! Ah, oh shit, I don't think.
I'll pause it there. Holy shit.
I have tears in my eyes. I don't know if people can see. I literally have tears in my eyes from laughing at that, and I've already seen it a million times. So fucking good, man. What do you think?
Uganda is the staging ground of the greatest interview that has ever been recorded. Like nothing that you or I could ever hope to do in a podcast will ever top.
Absolutely brilliant. My name is Pepe Onzima.
Yeah. Can I
Should I call you Miss?
But that's the thing I loved the most about that interview is that he's so polite, like throughout the whole thing. Like, can I call you Mister? It's like,
I fucking love it. There we go.
Absolutely
So you didn't get 5 films I hate the most, but what you did have is the best fucking
a tsunami of fucking insanity. My movie I hate the most, incidentally, and I would watch Neil Breen before I watch this shit again. Her. I think it was directed by Spike Jonze, if I'm not mistaken, starred Joaquin Phoenix. Great cast, beloved by the Academy. I like halfway through the movie, I literally, like the person who was watching it with me said, you literally want to gouge your eyes out right now. I was like, I've never seen something that it feels to me like somebody has filled a fucking pillowcase with a brick and they're just hitting me repeatedly with it. Absolutely dreadful. All right, let's do one more question and then probably about time to wrap it up because we're headed to the 2-hour mark for the news rant.
Yeah, it's probably longer than the actual
It is longer
earlier.
than the actual interview. Extreme Metal Voyager asks, what are your thoughts on genre blurring?
What are my thoughts on genre blurring? Okay. Well, I mean, if you're doing it intentionally, look, if you're specifically going out there to play, I don't know, jazz death metal because you think it's cool, then I don't like that approach. I think you're fucking lame. But if you're accidentally coming up with shit, you know, where you're just like trying to be authentic, trying to fuck around instead of saying, oh, we're this label. You know, it's exactly what I was saying earlier in the conversation, you know, like post black metal or, you know, whatever. Like for me, if I listen to Trivax, you know, like I pick up on thrash metal, death metal, black metal. Like black metal is maybe like 30% of our sound, if that, you know, and the rest of it is, you know, I think there's quite a bit of death metal in our stuff. And to me, it's kind of like I don't do that intentionally. Well, I do in the sense that it's the songs that I want to fucking write, you know, and I'm not thinking like, ooh, what does this riff sound like so and so? No, I just write what I want to fucking hear, you know. And that's the thing that people respond the best to as well. People are like, oh, wow, this is cool. This is unique. I've not heard this before. Or if I've heard similar style of riffs, I've not heard it represented in this way. So I guess that's kind of genre blurring, in which case then I'm obviously for that. I'm just for, look, I'm for people just being authentic, okay? And not limiting themselves just to a specific label, because that's just fucking, I don't know, it's dumb for me. I don't relate to that.
Well, people respond to authenticity, and they respond to inspiration. And if that inspiration includes you wheeling out a Mark Knopfler guitar solo in the middle of a black metal song, fine, as long as it works.
Well, you say that. The song Twilight of Death, there's a solo right in the middle of that, and the first half of the solo is a direct nod to the solo in Money by Pink Floyd, David Gilmour.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That down, that down, that down. Like that's the solo. Like I actually purposely took the solo and put it in one of our songs, and then I kind of finish it off a bit differently because of where the song goes to after that. But I do shit like that with Trivax all the time. We've got Depeche Mode influence all over. Like if you're a real Depeche Mode fan, I think you'll hear it, especially if you listen to some of my clean vocals in Demons Melancholia. That's got Dave Gahan all over it. Like I don't know, maybe people don't hear that necessarily because it's got blast beats on top, but that like the influence is like all over it. So I just play whatever feels fun,
Yeah. Final question, and then we'll wrap it up. And I'm asking this one because it was directed specifically to you. Luke, CCNW, what is the best guitar tuning, Shayan?
It's your mom's G-string. I think it's a great question. We used to play a lot in C-sharp standard for our first album. Then by Eloah, we switched to D standard. Yeah, for me, D standard is a very good tuning because you can, even if you're like Chuck, you still get like a nice, like it's low enough, but then you also get the versatility of like you can still do the higher register stuff with it as well, and and it's not like too low where it just kind of feels new metally either. So yeah, for me, I think D standard is kind of a good one, but I enjoy playing in all of them. I like playing in E standard. I like playing in baritone, B standard. I love recently playing with C sharp standard, which you're gonna maybe hear some drop C stuff with Trivax in the future, which will be exciting for people maybe, because it'll be a lot lower, a lot heavier. But how I'm also incorporating that is kind of different, because Weird Stuff also playing drop C as well, my other project, which we'll hear more about in the very near future because we just signed the record deal. So the short answer, D standard.
All right, my friend. Well, listen, as always, an absolute blast to catch up with you. I frankly can't believe that this is the first news rant we've ever done, because, I mean, as people can probably tell, the news rant that we do together will just get fucking buck wild. So we must definitely do one of them at some point again, sooner rather than later. But thank you very much for your time. I also want to say to Matt McGachy, thank you very much to him and to his time. Make sure you check out the new Cryptopsy album. Make sure you check out that new Trivax album, The Great Satan, out now on Osmos Productions. Anything or anywhere where people can catch you? I know you guys are playing on the Black Sabbath reunion weekend. Anywhere else outside of that?
Yeah, we're playing Ozzy Fest in Germany in Wiesbaden on Friday 19th of September. We have just confirmed some really big plans for the end of the year. Okay. We got the Brain Crusher from Hell in Germany booked also. We got that done with Destroyer and Absu, which is very exciting. I think that lands on 28th of November this year. Some really big stuff happening right following that, but I can't reveal much yet. But lots of cool stuff happening. If any of you are going to Beyond the Gates in Bergen, Norway, then you will see both myself and Jackie there. And before you come and say hi, make sure to brush your teeth. And jokes aside, really excited. We've got lots of cool stuff coming up. Unfortunately, because some things aren't announced yet, I can't say it here just yet, even though I am bursting to. But let's just say Trivax has a very eventful year or so ahead, and we couldn't be more proud of the record that we've put out. And of course, thank you so fucking much to everyone who's supported us, who is coming to the shows, and also thank you to everyone who has sent very kind messages my way since the conflict kind of started to escalate and began rather between Iran and Israel. I have people very close to me who are still in Iran, and it's been a tough time. I'll be truthful with you. So it's been really nice to have a lot of positive messages, even just people checking up, like I won't forget that, and also Jackie, I want to say thank you to yourself for your time and for doing this. This actually cheered me up, man. This I've had a lot on my mind, but this was just fun, just to hang out and shoot the shit, and just forget about all the other shit. So yeah, it's been good.
Awesome, brother. And it's always great catching up with you. I am back on Friday with Martin Collar of Prophecy Productions. That'll be my last Friday episode for a while, so make sure you don't miss it. And then next week, I'm still debating who the guest is going to be. Might be Christopher Dean, our mutual friend, Necro's Horns, or I might go with Frank from from Fen and Fell Warden. You guys will just have to wait and see what kind of mood I'm in. In the meantime, whatever it is that you are doing and wherever it is that you are, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you bad motherfuckers again on Friday.